Either way. Well, they look at it, they accept that. Our orders has always been like this.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Well, you know, when President out here.
How are you, sir?
Woman, all right?
Any better every day?
No, yesterday morning.
Everybody watching the cars, all three of them.
Well, you know.
Walks in the morning and start reading. Hey, you can thank me for that.
But it's on the radio.
I don't know.
Ours is there. Was out. It's too hot in here.
Did they call me this morning, so they communicate?
Says as close as I can figure, we have 3.5.
Vehicles.
No.
I mean, the big thing now is,
I got up and I went in there and she called me.
I've been talking to White Cat about the kids in there, and, you know, he's got to get his numbers finalized, he's getting close.
You hear me?
You know, he sent me, I saw, I got an email from him
I
on
don't know what it
Sunday.
is. Yeah, now it did it
I
again.
didn't read it.
About 30 minutes ago, it did it again. So Wayne sent somebody down to see what's going on.
The lady gets something too hot in there.
I know what the facility miles.
Or if this happened the first time between 4 and 4:30, you'd think it would be that hot. So the judge take about it Saturday night.
They just said, I'll be setting up dates as soon as the comptroller has gotten us all of our forms ready. All the new legislation is causing chaos.
He said he was busy.
Appreciate
At least he
it.
did get to learn some.
I have, yeah, I have no idea.
Never know.
We good?
You're live right now.
Tonight might be the busiest night in the whole month.
The roads, both interstate.
He said that's all good.
I don't have to worry about my.
He can cut our personnel, all he has to do is show up in this match.
I'll ask him.
Nobody will do it.
No, not a damn thing happened. It was the quietest, I figured we can cut jailers and deputies. All I gotta do is sit up there. Yeah.
I did hear you in the background laughing one time.
Did you?
They keyed up and were talking.
Oh, really?
Are you ready?
All right, we'll call this meeting to order. Let the record show, it's 9:33 a.m. Let the record show all 5 members of the court are present. We're streaming live on YouTube. And is it just, Jimmy, you got the honors today?
Yes.
Can you lead us in prayer?
Let's pray. Father, we come before you today, just want to say thank you, Father, for another day. Father, we come before you with heavy hearts, Father, with many that's been passed on this week, Father, this weekend. The Everson family, Father, Reed family, Father, many more Pratt family. Father, we just ask that you just be with them, Father, and comfort them in this time of loss. Give them a peace, Father, that's only you can give. Father, we just ask today that you be with us as we continue our budgeting process, Father. We ask for your wisdom and guidance and direction in all that we say and all that we do. Father, we just ask today, Father, that you be with those that are traveling around, Father, just give them traveling mercies. And those that are sick, we ask, Father, that you give them healing. Forgive us, Father, we failed you. That's all in your precious name.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you so much. that, we will start with public comments. Anyone here like to make a public comment? I hear none. We'll move to item number 4. Consider the county clerk minutes from the previous meeting, July 10th, 2023.
So moved.
We have a motion from Commissioner Wiley. Do we have a second? Second from Commissioner Rogers. Is there any discussion or amendments to the minutes? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item number 5, consider the treasurer's financial report, update on securities pledge.
She said she did not have any.
She has none. We will
Taking
move.
care of business.
All right, well then we will move to item number 6, consider the auditor's budget amendments and vouchers payable. Madam Auditor?
I wasn't ready to be in so quick. So Sherry was out last week, so I just put in a few invoices that had to go in for today. Nothing real unusual. The big one is $13,000. It's for some body cams for the jail that actually they received a while back, but we just received the bill. So I got that in on the run. And then travel for myself and Marcia as we go to TCDRS this week. And the sheriff's going to the sheriff's conference, I believe.
What's your total though?
19,737.31. And it's all out of the general fund. Nothing out of the precincts.
Okay. All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Wiley. We have a second. Second from Commissioner Cresswell to accept the auditor's budget amendments and vouchers payable. Any discussion or comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item number 7, consider extension agent's June report, request for reimbursement. Kenny Barron, $1,281.42.
And it is on this run also, that we just did.
Okay.
And she got everything straight?
Yes.
Okay. So moved.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion or comment? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item number 8, Sheriff Babcock put this on here. He'd like us to discuss and consider adding a concrete barrier at our jail. Sheriff?
Morning.
Morning. Oh, okay.
I'll give y'all some of these.
It's gonna be each set.
What they included in that price that you give us there, those builders that they're talking about putting in there will keep them barriers level instead of.
Does everybody know what he's talking? I can't remember. You talked about this in court last year, didn't you? Okay, all right. I couldn't remember how I heard that. So
We're keeping that ADA compliant in between.
Yes, because you see where, yeah, that one over
do you have money in your budget for this right now?
there.
How much?
$8,400.
I don't even, I think it'd probably be even less than that.
You think it'll be less than that?
He bid that, he bid this to do around the fence area too. I don't think we'll be able to do that right now.
So where are you gonna, the barrier's gonna be just on the
Yeah,
office
right.
portion?
Yes, sir.
What about on the left part, where people go into the jail? Are you gonna put it in front of that part too?
Yes.
So just the building part, not the
Just
fence
build
part?
it on the fence part. And the reason, we had thought about putting on the, around the fence part, putting the, actually drill pipe in there instead of the concrete barriers.
Yeah.
I don't want somebody being able to use that for getting over the fence or whatever.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
but we're having an issue finding anything to put right there, so we'll just do the inside part of the building itself.
Oh, it's, you're you're gonna come over the sidewalk like that?
It won't be over the sidewalk.
Okay. And am I picturing this right? Are these concrete barriers like what you see on the highways, like to keep people from going over to the work area?
Yes. Well, yeah, it's not right now because we just don't have materials available. I don't really want to use the concrete barrier.
But that's included in the legal.
It is.
What materials do you need?
Something heavy duty that I can stick in there and you can see it in.
How much?
I think it counted 35.
But this is not gonna happen now? You're gonna cut the sidewalk out?
That will happen right
Okay.
there. Just regular Joe, I don't know, maybe, even, I think even probably 4.5 either, you know, I mean,
How wide an entrance of the sidewalk is it?
How tall are they gonna be?
I would say they wouldn't even have to be 3 foot tall, probably.
So you're looking at 5
Put
foot.
a pipe in the ground. Be 8 foot long, 8 foot long. Sorry, Judge.
So the sidewalk, you're cutting the sidewalk down, but how big is that entrance way
It's gonna
down?
be way bigger than what a wheelchair.
Okay.
If a car gets through there, it's gonna be on the side.
Going 2 wheels. I've seen some stunt drivers that can do that.
But I know we're changing up a little bit of the area in front of the building, so that's why I wanted to make sure, get y'all's permission before I do that.
So you think it'll be less than 8,000 travelers?
I'm not gonna try to figure it out,
I
but
mean, there's still some money in the general fund.
Yeah.
You need 4.5 caps on all of it, you use 4.5 casing, every location. What are they, $4, $4.50 a piece right now?
Just for the metal case, yeah.
Yeah,
It's either that or take that some out of the way.
yeah, you make a flat top, it's just down.
I just feel a little concrete.
You're thinking like I am.
Oh, I did sign it.
I
Okay.
got it, I got it, it's like that.
Yeah. Oh.
If we build on concrete, you think it's gonna get a moisture?
Probably wouldn't, but that concrete, anybody just taps it very much, it breaks it out.
Yeah.
The metal will let it hold that pipe together too. Yeah, you get your concrete in there, then cap it, leave that like that.
What he's saying.
And if we pass pictures around, you have to put that in your record.
We can make copies.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea. I mean, we're getting the concrete barrier donated to us. I mean, it's just
I bet you we
a
can
small
find a
amount of
box
cost to
somewhere.
make it usable. I think it's a wonderful idea. It would add safety to our facility. I don't think it'll look out of place.
We can always, like I said, the fence part, we can do it on the next election or whatever.
And so is this just a TxDOT asset that they're not using anymore? How did you get this?
Just make a phone call.
From TxDOT then?
Two texts out.
Yeah, and they gave it to you? Are other people doing
We're
this? Is this?
gonna buy the cranes also too.
Yes, sir.
Oh.
So that's why we're doing this right here, because when they get it said, it's not like you're gonna be able to do anything else with it.
Yeah, that's true. Not like you can get a couple people out there. Move it.
No.
I'll make a motion that we take on this project and add the concrete barrier to the jail. We have a second from Commissioner Wiley. Is there any discussion or comment? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion unanimously passes. Thank you.
As soon as Karen gets here with this other piece of paper, I'll get it to you. No, you asked me to come up with some details
Yes.
of what I.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank y'all.
Okay, discuss and consider the preliminary budget for the Young County Annex. That was meant to be on a regular commissioners court next week. I accidentally put it on this one, so can you, Timmy, will you just make a note to move that to next week? Just discuss and consider the preliminary budget for the Young County Annex. Eric Garrity from the city is gonna come and go over that. I know that you two gentlemen are aware of this, but, so we'll push item number 9 to next week.
Probably need to add some stuff. You might need to add just, not only preliminary budget, but also some of the stuff, you know. We'll talk about that.
Okay. Item number 10, discuss and consider an interlocal agreement between Young County and Stevens County regarding streets, roads, and drainage, public health and welfare, and water disposal.
This is a redo on an interlocal agreement that Stevens County sent to me a month or so ago, June 12th. And they're calling, and we have done some research, Jimmy, or Tracy Cruswell and I. And we can't find an interlocal agreement that we had done in the past. And so I called their commissioner, and he says he doesn't want to take care of anything like my precinct, in his precinct. And so we were trying to figure out what they're taking of ours and what I'm taking of theirs. And as it turns out, I'm doing a lot more for them than they're doing for me. We're taking about 4.5 miles of theirs, and right now, they're only taking about 500 yards of Ivan Road, but there's another road that we've been taking care of, an AD road, that they didn't even know they had. So if they took back over or if we did the AD road and the little bit of Ivan Road, we'd be doing about 2 miles probably at most.
That's not fair, if you're doing more than they are.
Yeah.
That's not a trade-off.
I mean, what they're not wanting to do in my precinct's about a mile, and it was part of it the whole time. My part of the road is pretty good right now, so I mean, I feel for the people that live in our precinct over there, because you go out either end, you sure know when you leave Young County going to Stevens. But they have to drive in Stevens to get out one way or the other.
So is y'all's recommendation to not do this interlocal agreement?
Well, I mean, if it's not gonna be a fair trade between the counties, and we're tending more than what they're tending of ours, it's not a fair trade in our end. The only thing it does help with is where we have constituents that live in Young County and have to travel through Stevens County. When you can tell when you change county lines, it's not real good. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's what we've been doing with JD Road is our people have to drive across it one way, like you said, one way or the other. We've been taking care of it because it's in such bad shape.
Or
so legally,
do we just have the middle of that road? Is the entrance and the exit to that road somehow?
Well, it starts in Young County and then across.
Okay.
Because our county barn is right on the
Gotcha.
Stevens County line anyway. So anytime you go south, you're headed towards Stevens County.
I mean,
and like Duff Prairie on my side, you go in Stevens County to get to it. You go in, you got about a mile that loops back into Young County, and it goes back out of Young County, goes back into Stevens, and goes to the highway that way. Well, I have to go travel into Stevens County and get to our road and come back out. If they don't want to do that, I'm fine with that, but I don't think we should do a lot more of theirs for them to do less of ours.
you drive around anywhere in Texas, you can tell when you're changing counties, because you can see where the road, the road changes, right?
Yeah, I can go back to Will, the county commissioner, and give him, our
Give them the numbers.
recommendations.
I mean, let's table this and go back and talk to him about the numbers you're coming up with. See if he got something to counter that, hey, well, no, we're taking care of this or that we don't realize.
Okay.
But
Why don't they want to take care of it?
I think because it's the way we've always done it, but there's never been a local agreement with it, I think. I think this is just the way we've always done it, and he wanted to get compliant with what we should have done a long time ago.
Well, getting compliant and then changing what we're doing is two different things.
Yeah.
You need to be more fair.
All right, is everybody comfortable with the idea of tabling item number 10? Okay. Item number 11, discuss and consider run restrictions. I think it's maintaining, but it's been a pretty quiet week for fires, wasn't it?
Yes.
Sheriff, I mean, I
Yes.
didn't hear many tones, and
Well,
if any.
Archer County.
Archer.
Yeah, Archer
We had
County.
to assist Archer.
Yeah, Archer had a pretty tough deal.
And then we had one out on Middle Chapel,
We did have a couple of
bridge, and, but by the end of the day, it's gonna be a lot drier. Just by the end of the day.
Oh, I know. No, I think I'm definitely in favor of staying in burn restrictions. So, no action on item number 11.
I have this whenever you,
What is it?
what I was gonna give you.
Oh, we're talking about the jailers?
Yes.
We need to talk, that's a budget, so we'll talk about that in the budget
Can.
workshop. Because I think that's a budget item.
Yes.
So, no further business, we will close the regular portion of our meeting and we will enter into the budget workshop. Sheriff Babcock? I know we discussed his budget last week in the budget workshop, but he has another thing he'd like to discuss with us regarding the jail.
We were trying to figure out a way to maybe hire people and keep them hired. And I came up with this idea and
Big house.
consideration, maybe y'all can look at it. Ask that. I'll give you this one. Oh, actually, here, I have one. There's a misspelled word in there, so kind of look at it.
Yeah.
Where it says they should say they can get 1,500. It says they can bet 1,500.
That?
Yeah.
We're gonna gamble.
So, but anyway, this is some thought, I mean.
So the state of Texas is offering us a,
That
SB
SB 22.
22, I think it's $350, right? $350,000. And one of the ideas that we had for how to allocate that out was having a stipend for jailers, dispatch, and sheriff deputies. And then we're kind of toying around with a $5,000 stipend for jailers. So are you advocating this on top of that?
I wouldn't say.
Or could this be part of that $5,000? Because now you're talking about an $8,000 kind of year one change in a jailer's salary, that's huge.
It is huge. I would say this is just a thought of how we might be able to entertain someone to come in and work. But if we're gonna do that, and how does that stipend work? I mean, as far as being a part of your salary, is that?
It would be paid, y'all get paid every 2 weeks? Is that how it works?
I mean, is that part of your retirement, or is it going to retirement, you're going to take retirement and all that?
It would end up being salary, but you would have it as, we would break it out into the budget as two different components because some of it's funded from the general fund and some of it's funded out of this grant money that we're receiving from the state of Texas. But you would have to pay taxes, you would get you factor into retirement.
Which is
all
better that way.
Sure, yeah.
How binding would the hire on contract be? I mean, honestly,
You can't enforce it.
but you can't enforce it.
I'm gonna tell you it's not, I don't know, I mean, I know some agencies that do it, and everything works out, which is great.
registered.
So you're risking the $1,500, but then again, you're withholding the other $1,500 until they pass their test. Which that's a lot of work to split.
It is. And it's an incentive to make them work harder and to really pay attention and learn.
Wonder if
I
you
like
could-
the salary part of the increase as far as on this. Which that might be an incentive enough for you to cut it out, you know, that much money.
Okay.
Just thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting thought. It's an interesting way.
I know there's a lot of people doing it.
Art, have you seen it? Seen other places?
Well, eventually it might have been for, you know, other, but we're not having that big of an issue hiring dispatchers and retaining dispatchers. Same.
And we're actually in a situation right now, for the first time in a while, that we're fully staffed in dispatch, correct? Which
And,
is
and
under control. Are you counting the one deputy who hadn't started yet?
yes,
I think it'd be worth a try.
yeah. Right now, it would be, I think we're still short.
You don't want to have to quit, rehire back.
Yeah, I think you almost have to have a policy that you can't receive this twice.
Oh, yeah.
And you see it once.
If we approve this, you do, and then I'll change, we'll change up, you know, write it in policy for it.
Okay.
And if you don't stay, then you have to pay back, of course.
That's what it's supposed to be, yes, sir.
That's where the
That's what-
paper ain't worth having.
It is, but sometimes it works.
Right. Well, you know, I think entertaining them enough to get them to come in for this, I think might, you know, we just gotta get them over that hump and get them over that first year where they can get their state test.
Kind of like what's going on, we've got to look at the side of the road.
Yeah.
Pull it up.
And it may be something we have to do forever, I don't know.
What's the average, how long does a jailer on average stay with us?
I have some that's been there for 10 years.
Yeah.
Some that's been there in between, and some that just last a couple of days.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm glad we did.
New hires are gonna be 1,500, and after jail school, they're gonna get another 1,500. For the fully trained employees, it'll be 1,500, and it's gonna take a year.
Yeah, there's
Wouldn't you go ahead and wait a year for the new hire, the rookie, so to speak, to get your second 1,500?
that's the way it's supposed to read, that the new hires, they're gonna get their the rest of their sign-on bonus after they pass their state test.
That's in fact a year.
Sometimes.
We're not gonna keep them on, they've been there a year without passing the test.
They have, I believe, that 1 year. So when you hire them, say if I hired somebody today, they have a year to complete that state test, the jail school and the state test. And if they don't, it's not.
Get to pass the test in 6 months.
Yeah. Well, it's not, sometimes I don't feel like that's doing them justice, because they're not in 6 months, you're not gonna learn everything that you need to know. You have 3 months, you have 90 days to get a new hire scheduled for a school. So whenever those schools are scheduled, that's when they have double. I've seen 9 months, I've seen them in there, you know, being 9 months and then go, which I think is the best way to do it myself, because they get lot more of their education on what they need to be doing in the jail. I mean, we can always change it to the year, you know, I don't know.
Completion of jail school and passing of the state test.
Right.
After 1 year. You're letting a trained employee already, it takes them a year to get to that. Trained person will be like.
It would be.
Yeah, I think to your point, you, for the rookie, to get the other 1,500, they have to pass the jail test and complete 1 year. And then maybe be on equal standing.
We can do that as well, I mean, that's
Yeah.
just changing.
And then you have less risk if somebody comes and goes from $1,500. Okay. I think that you want everyone stew on that a little bit, think about it. I think it's an interesting way to attack your problem.
And it's, we can change anything.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a minimal amount of money, hopefully.
Since Sheriff Babcock is here, last time we were here, we were going over the sheriff's budget. We were talking about Senate Bill 22, which is a grants a county our size of $350,000 grant that primarily for maintaining a minimum salary for sheriffs, a minimum salary for patrol deputies, a minimum salary for jailers. I think it was jailers, wasn't it, the other one?
Yes.
And the one thing, there was quite a bit of information flying around this weekend about this. And the way we were originally setting this thing up was we were gonna do, keep the salaries where we were talking about keeping the salaries where we were, and then we were gonna add a line item to the salaries similar to different stipends that are already received. According to the comptroller, and I did not speak to him directly, but I've talked to people that have spoken to the comptroller directly, they're saying that in order to be eligible for that grant, the October budget must include a minimum salary of $75,000 for the sheriff to fulfill this requirement. And the way we were talking about doing it would not fulfill the requirement. So the one thing we'll need to discuss and consider is for us to be eligible for that salary. And they said everything else, which, because the sheriff is an elected official, it had to be done in October so that we can give notice. You have to give notice to all elected official salaries. That's the only one that has to be done now. All the other ones can be fixed at a later point. But they're saying that if we did not amend the sheriff's salary to $75,000, then we would be ineligible for that grant. Also, the person who talked to Comptroller Hager said that the way they're setting that money up is they said that it's gonna be protected, and it's, all indication is that this is something that's gonna be continued on past the 2 years. So, no guarantees on it, but the way they're setting it up, it really looks like this is gonna be something that's gonna be protected.
Does it say we have to give them up to 95,000?
No.
75,000.
I know we got pricing in 75,000, but how much additional money can you get out of that 300?
You get all the,
No.
But
No requirement, they have to give it, so.
the requirement,
The requirement is, so let's just hypothetically, if the sheriff was at $100,000, since he meets, what they're trying to do is just create a minimum salary for sheriffs. If he was at $100,000, then we wouldn't have, we could still get this grant and not apply any of the money to the sheriff's salary. But since he is under 75,000, they're just requiring that we bump him to 75,000, and then we're eligible for the $350,000.
Maybe we could do whatever.
Then we can do whatever, distribute it out, you know, we can for deputy, because all of our deputies and all of our jailers, I believe, meet their minimum standards. We can give stipends, we can use it for equipment, we have a lot of flexibility.
This $300,000, as part of that, is what we're supposed to use for the salary.
No, that's different. That's completely different. And in talking to them, I don't know if we're eligible to be able to take advantage of the constable portion.
I couldn't see where we were.
There's two requirements to be eligible for the constable salary. So the constable grant is to maintain a minimum salary of $45,000, and two things have to happen. One, the constable has to be a constable who primarily makes motor vehicle stops. And then two, the county must contribute 75% of the salary. And we're contributing a little bit over 50% of the salary. So, you know, our constables would have to transition into full-time, or not full-time, but mostly traffic stop constables, which is not really what they're doing right now.
In bigger towns, that's what they do.
Yeah, the way it was explained to me is this grant's really gonna benefit more urban areas than rural areas. Because I think our constables are consistent with most rural constables.
Cliff does do something.
And then the prosecutor grant's not gonna come through commissioner's court. They're gonna say that that's gonna go through the prosecutor's office and won't be handled through commissioner's court. So,
So sheriff is at 67 now, plus this raise.
well, yeah, so what we're, based off the proposed 5% raise, we would have to bump the sheriff's salary up an additional approximately $9,000. Yeah, to get him to 75, because we had him at 60, well,
65,924 with 5%.
well, no, 65 before the 5%.
It's
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right.
Yeah.
We had 62,598 times 105, so we're proposing 65,728. So, yeah, $9,300. But the way I look at it is for $9,300, we can get $350,000. That's the way I'm thinking about it.
Yes.
That we can then spread them on deputies, jailers, dispatch,
That might be
and
another
equipment.
good reason that people would come on board.
Sure.
This would be available, what you're trying to talk about doing, I guess.
I'll fine tune this a little bit if I have any ideas, you know.
I think Stacy's idea is a good idea, to where, because I can see where it needs to somewhat be equal, and it'd be nice for a new guy to hold their feet to the fire and have to be there an extra. What's a typical jailer salary? Um,
43 something.
40,000? Oh, let's say it's $40,000, so that 1,500. That's almost a 4%. You know, if they stay the year, that you get 4% up front, almost 4% for 1 year.
Something that.
That's nice.
That's 8%.
Yeah,
41.
it's a material number. Okay. What else you got for us? Did I read that wrong? Ah,
So I'm kind of, I guess I'm kind of, on the new hires, we came from $1,500 right off signing on. And after but you want to, and then after,
I can't. just wondered.
That's more than used to for people with experience.
I totally skipped
Those
over
are
the
the same thing.
And I was sitting here, why is it?
That's,
I was wondering what his time was
Public
here.
police and the jail school and
1 year.
service.
All right, I'll redo that and bring it back to y'all. Great, thank y'all.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Then give them the sensitivity there, anyway.
At least, yeah.
Good idea.
Apparently, I need to go back to school because I cannot read it. We pushed over item number 9. We need to come back to item number 9. Discuss and consider preliminary budget for the building of the Young County Annex. Please come forward. And my apologies.
No worries at all. I mean, I thought maybe just be on
Well,
budget item or something like that, so.
I've been talking about the arena, and I looked at that thing, and I just quickly read it, and I thought it said arena.
No worries. Okay, I will.
Thanks.
I'll wait.
About 32 copies of those. I got one. 20 more. So, what I've got here is an updated set of kind of where we're at. Mr. Wiley and I, and as well as the department heads, have been working feverishly on just preliminary layout and design of this proposed facility. Obviously, it's about a 7,000 square foot existing pre-engineered metal building. It does have some current offices that are inside of that building, as well as current restrooms that are inside of that facility. One of the biggest things that we've looked at is not only exterior, but interior. How do we utilize this in the most efficient way? On the exterior of the existing building, you'll see on that first sheet, we've done a couple minor modifications here from the site plan. And really what it's allowing us to do is to provide pickup and or drive-up window for the tax assessor collector's office. So really what we're looking at doing is pushing some traffic in some different ways on this facility. You have your head-in parking that is right at the front of the building that's right off of 2nd Street. That head-in parking is sloped pretty heavily. And so what we looked at, I think Commissioner Rogers had a great idea when we first started investigating this about, maybe raising that part of the building there and using some of that for the drop-off or drive-through. But the amount of actually work that's going to have to be done to be able to do that is going to be pretty extensive, and that drop-off or that drive-through lane would only be 10 foot wide at most. So my biggest concern there was anything that's coming through with the tractor trailer or a 16-foot trailer or something like that would not be able to fit throughout that 2nd Street access. Also internally inside the building, the layout of that to accommodate where the tax assessor's office would be for a drop-off window on the front along 2nd Street. It really shifted everything else internally, and we started using a lot more of the square footage of that building all the way down to the end of the building, and then we had this section in the back side of it that was just like left vacant, but no access to it because it was coming off the alley. So what we ultimately ended up here is being able to have that drive-through window on the, I'm going to call it planned west side of the building. What that allows us to do is push our traffic really along Grove Street, coming in around that existing residence on that drive that's back there, and then really using 2nd Street as an exit only in that scenario. That also helps on election time periods where you've really got a lot of traffic flow that's coming through there. You can utilize a lot of the existing parking that's on site, a lot of the driveways that are there for parking during election time periods. And then I know that the long-term plan with the residents there is to try and maybe put some chip seal down or some rock down to utilize some of that grass area as some potential overflow parking.
We've also been talking to the city of Graham and GISD about possibly abandoning the alley.
Yes.
And so we might be able to add that in as part of our drive-in plan.
Absolutely, yes, sir. So I think that all works and flows really well for the site itself. Our handicap accessible parking spaces, one of the big things is currently if you come into this building off of 2nd Street, there is what we call an angular parking, 45-degree parking that actually faces the north or planned north. By doing this and having the drop off, it flows a lot better to bring that traffic off of Grove Street come into the backside of the property and do that 45-degree angle parking for handicap accessibility, we can get 2 handicap accessible spots right there next to the drive-through lane, but it also is right there next to that door that enters into the main hallway that runs throughout the building itself. So we tried to minimize as much as we could on the existing site and use what we have, because that's the best way to utilize this as far as dollars and cents goes. And then from there, we went to the interior of the building. In the second sheet, you're gonna see that SB06 is what we call our reference plan. And this is basically the floor plan of what we've laid out and really chopped it up, moved it around, and done the best that we can, we feel like, for this existing facility. When you come in off of 2nd Street, which is gonna be the right-hand side of this floor plan that you're seeing, you're gonna come into the main lobby that's right there, okay? That main lobby is a pretty good sized lobby. It'll be a double volume or as high as we can get that lobby, just to make it a little bit better of a grand entrance that you would see. Then from that main lobby, you really have 4 options, possibly 5 options that you can utilize there. So we're really getting a lot of good flexibility out of this facility. Immediately to your left, which would be the bottom right-hand corner of this plan, would be the tax assessor collector's office. What we're doing there is we're reusing a lot of the existing offices that are currently in place and some of the walls that are in place, adding to them just a little bit. But as you can see, we have a 26-foot long window. So that would just be a large glass window for 4 walk-up stations up to that tax assessor's desks there. This would be a large window that would be BR rated, as well as the walls below it would be rated, so that just from a security standpoint, we have speaker boxes in that, and then paper trays as well, paper pass trays for any transactions that can happen into that. Again, it's just a little bit more of a security situation that we're dealing with. They're not stepping into an office to do any transactions, they're actually in this main lobby space. So again, it just gives them a little bit of that flexibility there for overflow. There's times when tax assessors, collectors have a lot of people waiting in there, so we're not creating a separate waiting room, but those time periods don't really coincide with necessarily an elections time period. So that lobby gives you enough space for waiting. We can put a bunch of chairs in the middle if we needed to. I know when I go to my Tarrant County tax assessors, I have to take a ticket and a number and sit there and wait for a half hour. So again, that lobby provides plenty of space to be able to do that. When you come into that lobby immediately to your right, which would be the top right-hand corner of the plan that you're seeing there, you do have a smaller waiting room. This waiting room is specifically dedicated towards the Veteran Services Officer. That, again, waiting room there would be about 5 to 6 seats that we can sit in there, so that when there are interviews going on inside the VSO office, which is directly inside of that waiting room, that there's ability to have families and everybody wait outside there if they needed to. Instead of right now, I know they're all waiting in the corridor here at the courthouse on the basement level. There is an existing mechanical room, which is in the top right-hand corner of this floor plan. That mechanical room was previously for, I think what we found out is all the ink dye from the printing press was located in that room. Just on the other side of that, where you can kind of see the desk for the VSO office, is actually where all of our electrical equipment is. I will say that one of the big plans and one of the big things for this facility, not only do we not need all the huge transformers that are currently located in that facility, they're loud. We don't need them because we don't have that kind of power that all the printing press equipment drew. But we're gonna switch all of those panels into that mechanical closet there. So because everything comes up right there, we can add an extra small wall in there and then put those mechanical equipment inside, or electrical equipment inside that mechanical room. So that's one of the big major changes I would say that we would have to do to the existing floor plan itself. Once you continue on through that lobby space, you do see the door that goes straight into the Elections Administration's office. Again, that's just a separate facility off this lobby space, making it multiplex. She also has a elections admin storage directly behind her, so that could be under a double locking key for any equipment. I know she has a lot of equipment that she deals with that needs to be secured at all times, so that's a great opportunity for that. Straight from that EA office, you do have the ability to come out into what we call our large community room. This is a facility that's a believe it's about 1,000 square feet of this entire facility, this large community room that we have here. That door leads you right in from the lobby space into the community room, but you also have that access from the Elections Administration's office. Reason being, directly from the Elections Administration's office, obviously during a high election time, let's call it a presidential election, there's a lot of equipment that has to be tested, that has to be set up and looked at and programmed. She can utilize that room prior to an election to be able to utilize that space. But we also have directly off of that what we call our tabulation room and our ballot board storage room. In dealing with the Elections Administration's office, tabulation rooms are pretty critical, I guess. I mean, that's where all the votes are counted. I know I've been talking with her, you don't have a ton of poll watchers, but you do periodically. That's an opportunity that they can stand there, they can oversee. But the tabulation rooms and the ballot board storage rooms, you're not at the point yet, but I'm planning for the future that those have to be live streamed per state requirements and federal requirements. So you could isolate those two rooms in the future just to record those only and live stream those if necessary. Again, secure ballot board storage rooms, that's where any mail-in ballots or any outside ballots are coming in to be stored. They have to be secure under lock and key, and they do have to be cameraed, not necessarily live streamed. So it gives you a lot of that flexibility coming straight off that community room. Also, during community room, the community room can be utilized, I know I'm talking with Commissioner Wiley, during elections, and even the elections administrator downstairs, you'll have a lot of people kind of set up in the hallways here, or you'll have meetings where, you know, all the people that are up for election can actually establish themselves and kind of set up in these spaces. But the beauty of this is just through a little bit of technology and again, talking with the Elections Administration, we can actually do all of the digital displays inside this community room and the tabulation room being right there. With that software, we can just do a live feed of the actual counts as they're happening within that tabulation room. So that everybody doesn't have to crowd into that tabulation room to watch everything that's happening. So from that community room, we do have a large storage room. You'll see kind of in the middle upper section. Again, this storage room really is, its main purpose is in this community room, you're gonna have a lot of different flexibility and a lot of different things happening in here function-wise. So you're gonna have a lot of tables and chairs that we're gonna plan for. Those tables and chairs could be rolled into that storage room, stored in there. Again, just giving you multiple flexibility options for that room. Just above that room, again, middle top section, you'll see what we call a flex office 123. Not to say that we had leftover or wasted space, but again, I just really want to look at 10 to 20 years down the road on the use of this facility and the growth. And that flex office has a direct door to the exterior, which is that alleyway that could be accessed if somebody needed to do that. But it also has a direct door to corridor 120 that leads all the way to the middle bottom of the plan here. And that door is the door we talked about that's right next to that handicap accessibility parking that we're rearranging. So that leads directly to the parking lot if somebody were to utilize that office, and again, whether it's a constable or maybe there's a small sting that's happening within the community, we don't want to set up the sheriff's office, we could utilize that office for that as a flexible space. As we continue down that corridor 120, we come back around to that stairwell, which I'll come back to in just a minute. But the existing restrooms, which are again in the middle of this plan to the bottom of the plan, there is a toilet stall and a urinal in the men's restroom in this existing building, and then in the women's restroom, there's just one toilet in there. We have space to completely add that second toilet in the women's restroom. But again, just talking with Commissioner Wiley and the judge just briefly, there's a possibility that we want to possibly do 3 stalls in each one of those. So the way it's configured right now, you actually enter into the middle of those restrooms and you can go left or right for the men's or women's. We've taken out that entry vestibule and done doors directly into the hallway or corridor 112. Is it 12 or 111? Sorry. Corridor 111. That allowed us to get that 3rd additional stall into each of the men's and women's restroom there to really, again, plan for a lot of people within this facility. And then adjacent to that, you've got your existing mechanical room. That mechanical room 117 is already there. That's where our hot water heaters are. There's some other mop sinks and stuff in there, so we're gonna leave that as it is. Next to that, we've included a break room. That break room 120 or 115. This is again just a flex break room for the entire office use, whether it's the DSO or the tax assessor collector's office, or it can be utilized just for the community room. If you've got a meeting that's happening in there, you can set up a small catering. There's some counter space in there to be able to do that with. And then behind that, we've got our IT room, which will need a server and storage room for this entire facility. Next to that, we talked about that. We kind of make a full circle here back to the tax assessor collector's office. That storage room vault area would be dedicated towards the tax assessor collector. Obviously, there is a lot of the license plates have to be behind double lock and key, but there's also additional needs for storage and secured storage within their offices, which would allow for that. And then right back to that bottom corner is you'll see that the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see that the drive-up window is right there with that additional workstation. So this gives the tax assessor collector 5 workstations plus the main office area, which has direct view, direct windows to all of the workstations, giving them that 6th-person flexibility for future growth.
And the community room, there's nothing that would prevent us from using that as a polling location.
No, absolutely not. In fact, it's set up to be that.
Okay.
Again, from the main parking lot, you could come in off that door where the handicap parking is, that door 120A, and you could actually come into those double doors into the community room, back out the front doors, so that you're not crossing traffic, pedestrian traffic, and you can have that big circle within the facility.
You'd be able to access it from 2 different locations.
Pretty okay.
Absolutely.
This is coming in from the alley.
Oh, yeah.
Also too, on your drive-up window, it's gonna have the same bulletproof glass, you'll have the same bulletproof underneath there on the outside, or the inside of the metal right here also. That too will be a speaker, like you see at the bank, and it'll have a slide out tray for your paperwork and everything. It'll be big enough to handle your license plates and everything else. That's cool.
So this is the first floor plan. I didn't really talk about the stairwell, said I'd come back to it, which is a stairwell that leads up to the 2nd floor on the next page, that SD07. So once you get up to this 2nd floor, what we're doing is we're actually, within all these offices we're filling in, we're creating a 2nd level up there. And I'm calling it a mezzanine level because it is not something that you can technically occupy for offices. You would need an elevator, plus you would need a whole lot more height on that existing building to accomplish that. What this mezzanine for is strictly for storage, okay? Again, we know that there's a huge demand within the county for storage, whether it's sheriff's office, DA's office, whatever those needs are. We can take this entire space up here that is 4,254 square feet, partition that out, section it out with chain link cages, whatever you needed to do to have this ability to store up above. You'll see
It'd be climate controlled up there?
everything's climate controlled in this building already. Now, I'm not gonna tell you that it's gonna get down to a heat locker. That's not what the intention is. But it is gonna be climate controlled so that you're within 20 degrees of the exterior temperatures. On the ground floor, because of the additional offices and everything we're adding, we are gonna have to supplement some more mechanical, some more HVAC into this building. We're going from a climate controlled warehouse, let's call it, down to an office where there's gonna be more occupants, more bodies, and a need for more temperature control. So we are gonna have to supplement that, but what you currently have will definitely handle this upstairs, mezzanine storage that we do upstairs. Again, we talked about the main lobby space, which again, if you look into the right middle section, you'll see that large X. We're taking that out of the storage area just to get us a little bit more height into that main lobby. It also helps us because currently that lobby space, if you walk into those main windows, they're at 10 foot, okay? In order to accomplish any sort of storage mechanical mezzanine that we're doing up here, I need to have all of our regular office ceilings down to 9 foot. Same thing goes for that community room. Our ceilings are gonna be dropped down to 9 foot. I've got about 1.5 foot of structure and interstitial space up above that. And then what that does, and again, I included a cross-section of it on that SD08 next. On the middle section where the beams are gonna be the highest, the structure is gonna be the highest, you're gonna get about 6 foot of head height walking down the middle. Now, this is just between the beams. Those beams are only at 22 feet between there. So again, as we're looking at worst case scenario, in the middle of those beams, you'll get 6 foot. And then as those beams taper down to the exterior walls, you're gonna come down to about 4 foot. So, and again, those are just at the beam locations. In between there, we have an additional 2 foot. So you have a 6 foot wall space at the exterior walls. So again, I think it's plenty of opportunity for storage that would be in there. Just at the beams, you may not be able to access it underneath that. But I think that's a small section and a small price to pay to help create 4,000 square feet of storage.
So that's subfloor to the top level, that metal structure, and all wood.
It's steel structure, yes, sir. I would say the most expensive and what I've planned for in my budgets right now is what we call open bar joists, okay? You ever seen a big warehouse going up with a bunch of steel columns? You've got those open bar joists in there, open trusses. That's what I've planned for, because I know that that will support the storage. I've got some other equipment too, which are light gauge trusses that I can utilize in this, but I'm really trying to figure out the loading on that. They are more cost effective and cost efficient when it comes to the structure. They just can't handle as much load, I know, so we're kind of comparing those costs. I will tell you, utilizing bar joists right now, my biggest concern with that is time frame. Bar joists, depending upon how much you're trying to order, anywhere from 6 to 12 months, just depending upon where we're at in the construction phase. So, if we can utilize an alternative system that may be more cost effective, I might go that route as well.
If you use 2x12s, you have to put them on closer centers. I don't know if that would be enough.
Yeah, 2x12, again, a 2x12, we need, my biggest area of concern is that community room. That's a long span. If I want to put a bunch of columns in the middle of that community room, I think we can go 2x12. But we can't span that community room with a 2x12 either way we look at it. So utilizing steel and steel bar joists to be able to accomplish that, we can get those spans that come across there because we can use those walls to bear that weight. Storage, and it's, you don't think about it, but when you're dealing with storage of equipment, it actually requires more structure than if we put offices up there with just people. Just because you can potentially stack it with boxes of paper and paper and paper versus people that are going to take up 10 to 12 square feet per person.
And the weight spread per square inch would be different.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. I mean, so for a storage area, it's what we call a live load within the building. What is the live bodies or whatever is going to be put inside there. And a normal office space, if you do the second floor, we're looking at 20 square feet or 20 pounds per square foot that we would need for a live load versus storage can be anywhere from 40 to 60. If you have what we call high pile storage, which 14-foot racking and shelving, that's going to be up around 60 square foot. Obviously, we don't have 12 feet of racking that we could get in here, so I think we can be around 40 square feet per person, 40 pounds per square foot.
But if we have to, we can get pretty close and pre-order those.
Yes, sir, absolutely. That's one of the big things. I wanted to come with you today, present some plans, show you where we're at from a cost control standpoint, make sure we're all on the same page, because I don't want to keep moving forward if we're not. If we go back to the drawing board, we can absolutely do that too. But I think at this point, if we can really look at some of the loading and some of the structural engineering needs to be done on that, we can try to start pre-ordering some of this equipment pretty quickly.
Anything that takes time to get, you can pre-order.
Yes, sir. The next page is the SD09. Just wanted to show you on the exterior. Again, we didn't do much to the exterior of this building, mainly with the site. We rearranged the parking a little bit, added in that drop-off window, that pickup window. One of the things I did do to simply dress up the front of this building, be a little bit more of a government-looking building. There's some existing pilasters, and if you look at that front elevation, there's stucco on it currently. And then there's some pilasters that are in stucco as well. I'm coming in there with some additional stone that we can do, just wrap those pilasters real simply. It's called sticky stone, or what I call sticky stone, manufactured stone. It's just like stucco where you kind of, or tile, you butter the backside of the building, and then you butter that backside of that stone, you stick it together, you let it dry, and you've got a good solid product there. So it looks like it's solid stone. We would just do a wainscot across the bottom of it there, and then those 6 pilasters as they come up the middle section. We've also added signage to the front of the building. Since there are so many spaces out here, I wanted to plan for that and make sure all the wording can fit. So we've got all that signage that's in there. And then if you wanted, I'm sorry, yes, sir.
I think you need to get the stuff there. The way I look at the directions you're looking off, the front of the building will be south.
That's correct.
This is East Elevation.
Yes, yep, you are correct.
All those directions.
You are correct.
Get those
You can have a choice of what kind of rock or sticky stone you can put up front.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
There's a proof of.
Oh, yes, no, what I've done just from a budget is, I mean, I'd say there's 10 different lines that we can pick from. If you wanna get real custom with it, take this stone and that stone and blend them together, maybe a little more expensive, but, we have a lot of options when it comes to that sticky stone to put on the front side.
We have a native stone, maybe, limestone, they're native up here.
Yeah,
It is at my house.
it is.
Yeah.
Correct. So that's the exterior. I've included a couple more sheets here. This is mainly because I want Commissioner Wiley and tax assessor. This is the one area where we're gonna custom build in a lot of this desking and these transaction counter spaces. So we've got a lot of details to work out when it comes to the tax assessor's office. So these are some details we're still working on, but just again, know in our budgets that we prepared, we are custom building all of this desking in here. It's a unique situation, especially, and I deal with this with all tax assessors' offices. You know, they don't have banker's boxes, or they don't have a lot of regular files that they deal with. A lot of license plates are odd shaped. They don't fit into a standard slot. So we're kind of custom building some of this equipment in here just so that we can make sure we're accommodating what they need. The tax assessor's office will be just a regular desk that we would put past. And the last page I've included in your packet is just some exterior renderings and interior renderings. You kind of see some colored pretty pictures for the facility that we're proposing. But again, that rock, I've shown it as a darker rock, darker stone, just kind of let it stand out from that existing stucco. But we do not, that is not exactly what we're doing just yet. We're far from picking the exact color or the style or the shape of the stone that we're putting on that building. And then again, the veteran services, tax assessor, you can see that lobby in that bottom left-hand corner. Once you come into that front space, we've got a good sized ceiling in there, good open space, and we can add a lot of seating in there for waiting. Everywhere except for the lobby. And then obviously we didn't talk about the 3 drive bays that we have to the plan left. That's existing. We're not doing anything with that. We're just creating a partition wall. So that'll be full height. We've got up to 16-foot, 17-foot deep heights on the drive-through bays.
You also create a firewall, act like a firewall.
Yes, sir. So you could store some heavier equipment, or cost of materials in that warehouse section. That's all climate controlled there as well.
He's gonna be putting awnings over the drive-through window and also the front. The little post underneath will be freestanding from the building itself.
That's handicap access, probably the awning over
The door that's back there, absolutely. These awnings are a great solution for existing buildings like this. Like the Commissioner mentioned, if we try to put a big, porch on the front of it, now I've got to cut out the existing concrete that's there, put some footings in there for those columns that come down. These free hanging awnings that we can hang off the building here are a great solution for that. Relatively inexpensive. I think you're looking at about $4,500 for the larger ones that are over the front area. So a smaller one over that back door, absolutely, really cost effective. Yes, sir. We've got, again, the AC units, the condensers that are there. They work great, they're fine. We're gonna relocate them around to the back of the building, because we gotta add quite a few more for the additional supplemental air conditioning that we're doing.
You talking about on the other side of those bays?
They're right there where that handicap parking is.
No, they're right there where their car's at.
Right, but where are you gonna reload in the back?
To the back of the building,
Okay.
yes, sir. To the back of the facility. So we are at a point where I kind of call this schematic design, although we've done a lot of detailed design for the facility, mainly around tax assessor's office. We're trying to dive into exactly how many plugs, how many shelves, all this stuff is needed. But really where we're at right now, I have estimated this project, and actually I don't estimate because right now it's hard. Material and labor costs are like a roller coaster ride, and not for me, mine train. What I've done is I've hired a third-party estimator that does this for a living. They're in tune with all the construction costs that are happening right now. And I've hired them to really take this set of plans, as you've seen here, plus a lot more detail that we gave them, and give us a full construction budget of what they think this facility is going to cost. So right now, that full facility is looking like it's going to cost just the hard construction piece itself around $720,000 for the hard construction portion of it. That's the exterior improvements, electrical, finishes, openings, all the way up to the general requirements portion of this project. What I have added in here starts at line item number 16, which is what I call construction contingency. Because it is an existing building, we may open up some walls, we may open up some areas that we're not sure what was in there previously, and we're gonna need some contingency to deal with that. Anytime we get into an existing building renovation, that's really what we're looking for. There's also things like right now, there's all that ink piping and all of the air compressor piping that's running throughout the entire building. I don't know what it's gonna cost to drain those lines. I don't know what's in them currently, but we wanna remove those for the future, and that's not included in what we consider to be hard construction costs. And again, those are things that we can start on as soon as the tenant moves out too, to start preparing its building for that. Line item number 17 that you see there, architecture engineering fees. We've already agreed upon our flat rate that we would charge for this building to design and engineer this facility. So I've included that in here from an overall cost standpoint as well. And then the last one being line item 8. I'm sorry?
That's a big number.
Yes, sir. What we've all agreed to from the contract has been a fixed cost. Yes, sir. It's not a percent of construction or anything like that. Yes, sir.
If we wanted to, we could go in there ourselves, take care of those lines.
Absolutely. It's your building. Yes, sir. The last line item I added was number 18, which is furniture and equipment. I have plugged in $75,000 in there. Again, we talked about in the tax assessor's office, that U-shaped desk. We need a new U-shaped desk that's in there. The elections administrator office. We need a new U-shaped desk in there. As much as the veteran service officer would love to take his entire office set up from here, we definitely need a new desk for him as well whenever we're moving him over to this building. And then the big section of where I've got some money plugged into this, in the 75,000, are all the tables and chairs for that community room. So again, these are line items that I want to make sure that we're all thinking about from an overall cost. I know Commissioner Wiley and I had some discussions last week over, hey, our construction costs came in at $720,000 roughly. There's additional things that we want to make sure we're looking at overall on the project. So really, from the overall big picture of this project, this is what we're designing currently, and this is what we're looking at from an overall cost. So,
That, furnishings, also money to be used for that too.
Yes. So, yeah, that's factoring all the different things we talked about already. And that gets us into that. Spend some money here to fix what's left
Very
behind. Yeah. Anyone have any questions or comments? Chrissy, what do you think? Does it look like it would fit your need?
Yes, that,
I think it looks great.
I think they do. It's really, really nice. I just can't wait to see it all. No, I can't.
This cost, this estimate, you can come under that, there's a lot of flexibility in some of the spots.
There is. The one thing I would say is, again, as we're continuing on, and Commissioner Rogers made a good point that, our architecture engineering fees are fixed costs. But if we get to the end of this project and you guys tell me, no, we only wanted to spend $500,000, I'm telling you $1 million today, then I'll probably have to charge you to redesign it all again. So if we want to redesign it, let's start now, so we don't have to go through that exercise. But if we're close, then absolutely, I think we can find some cost savings along the way, pick those up. But I truly believe this overall project budget of just over $900,000, it's going to be pretty close to that.
I think it looks great. I don't know what everyone else's thoughts are, but I think it accomplishes, solves our election issue, solves our accessibility to the tax appraiser collector, assessor collector's office issue. Storage issue solved, and then,
The veteran administration.
that's a big deal. That's a really not a inviting space that we have them in right now, but that'll, everyone who's left behind, call everyone who's left behind, it'll be a nice, opportunity for people to kind of get a better space. Yeah.
Tell you, in talking with all the departments and everything, not to say that everybody asked for the moon, but DSO officer was just very simple. Said, "Can I get
He's
my own,
got them waiting in the hallway.
can I get my own air vent?
It's so hot in that closet.
Can I get a desk that at least faces my clients?" I think we can accomplish those two
Yeah.
minimal things, so absolutely.
Agreed. Yeah. Want a window too?
Well, the old one, he was in there before, or the new guy, he didn't want to move out of the closet. So, yeah, I mean, that was, when I asked him about it the first time, I thought, no, this is where I need to be.
To each their own sometimes. Great.
So do we need, I don't know if this is an estimate, there's not really an action item here, is there?
Well, then he needs a motion to be able to carry on. Move forward. Move forward.
Well, is everyone here, are we comfortable with the preliminary numbers here and wanna take the next step forward? Want someone give me a motion? We have a motion from Commissioner Wiley, we have a second? Second from Commissioner Shook, any more discussion or questions? All in favor? Any opposed? 4-1, please. All right, we're moving forward.
Thank you all. We'll be back soon and we'll keep hammering on this.
All right.
Right now, our goal is to have the project out to bid by September 1st at the latest.
So I mean, this is crystal ball here. Realistically, when do you think we could have people moving in?
I would estimate right after the first of the year. You know, if we put it out to bid September 1st at the
Yeah.
latest, get us about 30 to 45 days for bids and contract negotiations with the general contractor to finish this. This is no more than a 4-month project. As long as materials are available, if we're having to wait 7 months on bar joists, then that may be a little bit of determining factor.
That didn't give you much time to mourn your old office, Christie.
Tell you, take that slide door.
Exterior improvements. Parking lot.
So, we're taking out a little bit of concrete. Yes.
We're taking out a little bit of concrete right here, kind of better right now.
I mean,
It's just slopes,
No, sir.
no, take the same slopes, just right there. Well,
Why don't we,
flat.
I know y'all keep talking about it, but we'll take 5 minutes before we'll resume back.
Flat, so I thought you had some of our
No. The rendering software is, but, yeah, it's just a little small section.
I'll be being trying to use it.
They just, if they put all
We're actually.
all of them together.
No, that's not the houses, no, sir. I know that they're.
Did you grab one of these?
But,
You got it?
big tree.
You're probably better off.
Did you grab one? I saw Scott grab one, did you grab
No,
one?
not in this
Budget
budget.
workshop? You don't have the new one?
Yep.
How many of these did you make? Yes. Oh, wait. Is that it? Yeah, that's it, okay. So you didn't get one.
Oh, sitting there.
Well, it's about 35,000, so yeah, 37,000.
Yeah, it fell out of the deal.
Yeah.
What?
Whatever, yes, you got it right here.
Y'all pick my
Well, it fell off. We didn't know what it was, it was stuck in here.
Not gonna have all the design.
It was done.
Additional, that's when he's done.
Yeah, it's probably best to go figure out what we got.
Did you grab one?
Trying to return their stuff.
You did.
Okay, so does everybody have one?
Yeah, it looks like everyone got them, I just didn't realize everyone grabbed them.
What's local spots? It's just a bonding, everybody's got a bond. So that's always the trouble.
Yes, you don't wanna think about that
I think
part.
we've got some pretty good contractors.
Yeah, you can have those.
Already bond,
Yeah.
contractors, they do school district work, and stuff like that. So,
Oh, I see. She gave everybody. Okay.
well,
Those were extras.
I mean, yeah. So, we gotta broaden our arms a little bit to get a better pool, you know. Yeah, lumber.
How are you?
It happens.
So,
Yeah, you gotta prevent it on the board.
about a couple of weeks ago, Kathy stopped me outside and said she wants to do.
I think it's really starting to come together. So, I'm gonna grab tax assessor real quick and ask them a question.
Okay, so that's kind of what we're talking about, like Friday.
Yeah.
See what kind of.
Yeah, it's already included in there. I don't think we can spend $75,000. I really don't.
slow too. On the rafters. I mean, those are bigger rafters than you will wear off some of them.
The beams that are in there.
Because so that's a pre-engineered metal building. It's all like kit parts. They design it to the very minimum they can in that type of facility.
Anything more than zero.
Yeah, I don't know either. That's my problem.
That's what I understand, because they're tighter beams, they should have quite a little.
Right, they should, but also the 22.
It's always been precinct.
And so, yeah, top floor, you guys need to do
There's not any
Down to it.
homes
To have structure.
in that north part of that road section, I think.
There's
not. Well, there's
one
there with the storage.
No, I agree. It's right on, yeah, it's right on the north side of
And then
the
Hatterton lives.
Pictures of your, the proposed new office.
But you're talking about
The brick schematics.
doing this before, took the gun range road and back. Somebody take.
That pothole,
You're a fancy man.
that pothole's about 50 yards from 380. It's right on the,
But you're talking about, you're gonna do the other part of it, it's gonna be yours?
I've already mowed all this. I have been taking care of,
Okay.
and gun range, I've been grading it, I've been taking care of. I
So
picked
you
up
just-
trash.
You're just looking at doing from gun range road back to a 380. Is that what you're talking about?
I don't know why it's like that. I would take care of all of it since I'm already there anyway, but it's
much
not,
more than what they have.
the way it is right now, it's not like that.
I don't know what they were assigned to do.
I don't know why I don't have all of it anyway, other than y'all changed that when y'all redistricted.
Well, it's always been precinct 2, even.
Yeah, so there is that point.
Way back when, even when John was precinct
It makes good sense for somebody to take care of the whole thing.
Correct.
2. Yes.
Standalone.
But right now, there's a big pothole right there, and
I'm not
they're
doing
blowing me
much
up on
with it.
Facebook.
Leaving it there, you could utilize it.
So I guess we just need to figure out who's gonna.
It's gonna be a little bit tricky how we do that.
I've ordered hot mix. I can add another load to my order.
Is with.
Well, the thing about that there is, the way that is, it's gonna have to be dug down.
Yeah. Well, Roy said that we've already taken care of it one time. We've got oversides in there, and we've done that before. It just needs to be redone again.
Okay.
I don't see any
And put a thicker cap on it.
The bad part about it is right on top of a hill. I mean, if somebody goes around it, you're risking a head on. I'll put a cone out there for now.
Okay.
Put me above elections.
Okay.
Hey, how are you?
And then I'll do you.
But I think when we redistrict, I think I should take care of that whole thing, because if I'm gonna take care of part of it, I might as well take care of all of it, if I'm gonna be there anyway. It makes no sense for that to not be.
But he's.
Well, me anyway.
I told Court that. I told Court that today. He was real easy.
I think, have you talked to?
A little bigger office than the whole thing.
Yeah, if you would've said window, we would've
Is it
called
still
it.
on your road numbers or?
I hadn't asked her about
Well,
that.
like I said,
Just talk to
there's
her.
a window in the lobby and then a window to the exterior.
But I can.
You'll get sunlight in there, but you may not have the best view.
Well, that's fine. Sure, it'll be better than what's there now.
Yeah.
There's another one down front there. One front down, about there, figure out about that.
So I have to admit, I was reviewing all the stuff you gave me. I know we went over it in detail, but it's been so long. I could not recreate your story, so I'm gonna ask you to, I gave everyone the handout. But this is, I think everybody has that.
I'm gonna go talk to the tax assessor for somebody.
Okay. Thank you.
Because all that giant packet was, all of these pieces.
So I started, I get the original
I
thing.
don't think it's that called low.
This is the, this was really surreal.
Yeah. Good.
So, but if you can kind of give your spiel.
Well, I got the pack would be great. Road right now.
Rogers wants it the week before that. We were gonna do it that week before, but he's already asked for it.
Well, yeah, no, I
Oh, you go ahead.
we're talking about
Go ahead and pack it this week, before we get there,
Matter of fact, you
county
have to use.
population.
but we can't get no hot mix.
Show the benefits that the increase benefits that you've been able to.
You got the Packer down at Tandem,
Water time, and then you come up here, when I talk about, well, when you're looking around, seeing what's the different veteran service officers around, and then you get all the way down to the county, and we're at 18.7, and we're at 18.7,
It's gonna be there all week.
yeah. Yeah, and that's the story I'd like to give them.
You get some rock in it, let it pack down.
Hey,
That we couldn't do that before in there.
I can actually,
We'll do that.
bring this up, updated one.
He told, he wanted to speak before the, he wanted the 7th through the 14th.
Yep, go grab it.
I wanted the 14th through the 21, and that's when we ordered our.
Perfect, go grab it. Yeah. So, our deal tomorrow about the small estate affidavit, we talked to you about where they just ignored the order, where they did the fraudulent one. The individual has hired an attorney, he asked for a continuance. The attorney has never responded, so we don't even know if he'll show up or not. But if he doesn't show up, you just, yeah.
Well, if we can get,
But where he is.
when are y'all gonna be through with your
He's just
pothole
had-
painted down there on the end of Water?
So what do you do?
By the end of the week. We have a week in between when we use it, when Stacy uses it. And when y'all are done with it, we might can get it going.
Yeah,
Let me see.
I guess you can.
Yeah, we've got, if y'all are through with it this week, we've got all the next week before Stacy uses it on August 1st. Make sure he's gonna be through with it by the 14th. Yeah, we've got plenty of time, we've got 2 weeks actually. We'll get it done. What they're doing is trying to shut down or anything,
Yeah.
working on that brush. Shelley's in the backhoe out there, at least get it ready.
And technically, she has a judgment that she could file.
No, she's not the judge of that. Didn't say that it was owed to the county.
Oh, to the court, yeah. I guess, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Some of those things for me, I'm not that. Yeah. Apparently she's working hard on it too.
Our tractor and.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tinting windows and fixing leaks and. Nobody's been grabbing about that tractor.
Oh, I don't know if anyone knows how to use it. What's it? We got a copy up here? Yeah. We just got new ones and people are struggling to figure out. Timmy doesn't know how to use it.
I am. Yep. TC Gordon. Oh, awesome. Good to meet you.
How long have you been here now?
2 weeks.
Hustling.
Yeah, well, getting them started last Wednesday at the Readers, so.
Replacing somebody or you just?
Yes, sir. I'm doing sports. Mike Williams, who was the other sports guy, got promoted to the Breckenridge. Pretty, yeah, I think so. Here at the Leader? Yeah, it's Kylie is our publisher, and then our editor is named Thomas. Who used to be the one who kind of comes to the news, but now we'll probably be some.
Rolls down, so.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. And you can have a car? We got.
I can. I'll be sure when I have them, I'll hand them out.
It's very nice to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
Since you're here on the living budget.
Oh, yeah. Exciting stuff.
Bated breath.
Is that green?
It was a rough bus.
Are you, sir? Good. Very good to see you.
I'm still alive.
What's
That's
the
the best.
I say nobody shot me yet, so it's a good day.
After all they done to me the last year. Beer.
get everything resolved?
Nope, we're still working on that. She fired, from what I understood when I talked to my attorney.
Oh,
She's now fired her
Oh,
attorney,
I don't
and
wanna
hired
get
somebody
yelled at.
else Southway.
I
Because she
would
didn't
yell
like
at
what
you.
her attorney told her. I got, Wimberley. And, I don't know what they still have.
I have never yelled at you.
county property return.
Yes, I have yelled at you over that.
County property return.
Get what she thought she was going to.
Is that all of them?
I don't think it's.
Oh, I have.
No.
That's the thing.
I'm kind of a big deal about it. It works. It is set.
Now I have cross, paper clips. If you steal those, you're going against me and God, because I steal the paper clips. Steven, I told Adam you were talking about it.
Yeah?
He said, was it good?
What cattle, we sold those crossbreeds. Good or bad? It is what it is.
Adam, I'm ready to start competing.
That sounds like what Canadian.
I am, yes, you're down. I was given my very first job.
Oh,
So now I'm competing with you, the races on all the police
Big
department.
properties, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But not-
So, I've got one. I haven't gone through them, but I've seen one of them.
Property up before the first prior majors, when we heard over from the cable, they got right on
That's
there.
what we're trying to do.
They're cool.
No, that's where.
Yeah,
That's where it's gonna come down the long.
All right, guys, let's get back to work.
All you do is what we really
Let's
want.
get this done. You're not big picture. I'm going.
In case y'all haven't noticed, Jimmy's getting a little
Yes.
grumpy over there.
He's getting something, he's fixing it.
He gets hungry about
All right,
8 o'clock in the morning, and stays that way.
budget workshop will come back into order. Let's move to, if you guys are okay, let's move to Veteran Services Office budget. That's, item number 405. I invited Adam to come join us today. Adam did a really, come on up. Adam did a really good job of preparing his budget for us and explaining to me. We had a meeting about what he did, and he has some interesting stats about the veterans in our county and the percent, how our county compares to other counties, and then how we've been able to see a steady increase in benefits to our veterans, which is attributable to the hard work that Adam's doing. So Adam, the floor is yours.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, ladies. Thank you for having me. Just as Judge was saying, a couple of statistics that I've been working on are that we are actually overburdened by veterans to adult population. The average is, I don't have the sheet in front of me, but you guys do. The average is about 8.2, I believe, and we're sitting at about 10.7% veterans for our adult population. And then, so I just wanted to preface and start by that we have a lot more veterans than most other counties in the United States of America. Some other interesting statistics is that before I started, the total annual VA compensation and pension portion, which is the primary meat and potatoes of my job, the annual income was at 7.7 million. And since I started since I took over for Doug full-time in September of last year, I've managed to secure an increase of $1.5 million to our veterans of our county. And that's the most recent updated piece of paper that's been paid out. And in that, it breaks it down from percentages and what their monthly income is and all like that. So those are the brief statistics on the veterans for our county. When I was meeting with Judge Graham, we went ahead and discussed neighboring counties, what they pay their veteran service officer, what their veteran workload is like, how much they get paid per veteran, stuff like that. And then there should be a summary sheet within the packet that you have that looks something along these lines, just the standard Word document.
Well, this is it, right? Yeah, I don't have the header on it, but this is the summary sheet. Okay. Sorry about that. Looks a little different.
And then in that summary sheet, I go in between all of our neighboring counties. I believe we had 7 or 8 neighboring counties, one without any posted data. And I went ahead and pulled from the Department of Veterans Affairs and the Bureau of Vital Statistics, the veteran population. I went through their counties' budget workshops as well for the last year, find out what they're getting paid and the veteran workload. I have that all broken down. Would you guys like me to go county by county or just give me a
Yeah, if you
second?
would real quick, yeah.
Okay. Throckmorton County outsources everything to Wichita Falls and only has an internal budget of $2,000 a year. Jack County, they have 401 veterans in their county, and the average workload per veteran is $24.93. Stevens County has 567 veterans, and their average workload is $17.63 or $17.63 per veteran. Palo Pinto County has 2,092 veterans with an average workload of $17.21 per veteran. Clay County has 805 veterans with an average workload of $15.83 per veteran. Archer and Baylor County, I could not find any information for Baylor County, but I could for Archer County. There's 487 veterans for Archer County, and there's $17.24 per veteran. Shackelford County is the one that I said there's no information online or from the VA database for.
How many veterans you say Young County had?
1,157. 59, sorry, 1,159.
Okay.
So based off, using that statistic, the only county if you figured out the price per veteran that we're servicing, the only county that we're outperforming as far as in salary is Clay County. Every other county on a per veteran basis is doing better than we are.
Yeah, in Young County, we have 1,159, as you said, and our workload is $16.15 per veteran.
Well, I can attest, because I see it here every week, Adam is working his tail off down there, he's doing a wonderful job for us. We're lucky to have him.
Thank you, I'm lucky to have the spot too. So I know there's a whole packet in front of you, a bunch of information thrown at you. Kind of open forum for questions for me before I move to what percentage I'd be asking for.
Nope.
Okay. To bring me up to on average for the neighboring counties would be an increase of 12.4579% or 12.5% simplified. And that would increase my salary from 18,728 to 21,061. And that's what I would be asking for to be brought to on par the average of the neighboring counties.
And that's an 18.17, is that how you factor that?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, yes, the average per veteran workload for all of the neighboring counties that are listed on there is at $18.17.
What about the rest of your budget, or your education budget, is that, seem like that, is that sufficient?
The rest of my budget is actually very well maintained, it's perfect where it's at.
Okay.
And the only reason that this year, I don't know if you have current numbers in front of you, the only reason this year, education and transportation is gonna be kind of on par to mine, or maybe a little over, is because this year I have 3 conferences that I had to attend, and next year I'll only have 1. They bumped 1 instead of being in December to August.
So typically, you
Typically, I
have
have
2,
two.
it's just it worked out. Okay.
I'm new here this year. Is this your full-time job? Is this the only thing you do? No.
No, I'm at the post office as well.
So
Come up here
he's
as often
here,
as I can.
you're here, Wednesday's your day here, right?
Wednesday is the official day, but maybe
And
they
then-
test that I'm here.
And then he's here Wednesday.
Okay.
And then the rest is by appointment. he's here all kinds of hours, meeting people, and,
Do you go to all the much you want?
Yes, I'm mandated the first Wednesday of the month, but I make special trips.
No,
Do you keep us with mileage on the bus?
Yes.
So you do turn in your mileage for travel?
Yes.
as you should.
You think that new facility would be?
I think it would be wonderful compared to the dungeon I've got.
I think it'll be easier on the people too.
I truly believe that as well.
You know, they're not gonna feel like
On
they're
business
gonna be out in the
travel?
hall with everything, they're gonna be in there, actual waiting room, final control. You have people come up down through there.
Yeah, one of the hardest things was
There was
having
no
those
year-to-date
intimate
mileage,
conversations
I
on
was just
combat
looking at
vets
where you had
and
budget
not being
on
able
that
to close that
business
door,
travel.
guarantee that privacy. I think that'll be the biggest thing, being able to have that.
It's zero, that's why I was
Be able to
asking.
open up to people too.
Exactly.
That's why I was just asking.
What do you tell in your business, not like the loans and stuff? We haven't
That's how it's coming up with.
It's zero right now.
I just got a check for it for
This is what
300 and.
See, so he probably.
I wait until the sheet is full, so I don't have to turn it in for one trip or two trips. So I wait until it's fully turned in.
Okay, well, I was just seeing that it was zero, that's why I asked.
Yeah, I didn't-
What,
I
if
didn't-
you were turning in mileage, because it shows what you'd asked for the prior years, or what was asked for in prior years. And so that 820 there, that's why I was looking.
No, yeah, I'll wait until the sheet's full and just, or try to save a little bit of paper.
Side one trip?
So, commissioners, what would y'all think about if Adam's salary was 21,000, that would put him at the average of the counties around us. That would represent, that's a 12% raise from where he is now. What are the thoughts on that?
Figured out about 5% plus 1,400. Statement on that, add 1,400 to 12% raise.
Well, yes, I like, yes, I see what you're saying. It's
It
semantics.
sounds better.
It sounds better, but, is there any objection for me penciling in 21,000?
I don't have no problem with that. I'm looking at your membership dues, y'all paid none in the last 4 years.
I get a monthly newsletter from Texas Veterans Commission, that's my parent company.
That may be being paid through.
I believe that, to my knowledge.
I was just
that's
looking at
true.
what's paid, what hasn't been paid out of this. You got $18 in office equipment in 2020. Surely you've had to get more than that.
Well, like I say, a lot of people wait till like August, September, first, to see what kind of money they have, but when he goes over there, he need more paper clips. More picture,
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so
21,061, that's right.
I just rounded off to 21,000. What do you think? Let's make it easy to start with.
You know, I like it.
And then, do you have a cell phone allowance? You get a cell phone
Yes.
allowance through
I
us?
think it's $60 a month.
Yeah, so then keep that at 720. Office supplies. I definitely think with moving into the new facility, we ought to keep that. I don't think this is be the year to reduce that. Put it at 600. Business travel expense, that's.
He just turned, that's what we're talking, he just turned in a sheet where he got $300 something, so he turns in randomly, and that's his mileage to Albany and.
Where else besides Albany are you driving?
So for this one, I went to Dallas for fingerprinting to renew my PIV card for immediate access.
Mhm.
And other things like that.
Do you ever have veterans that can't get in here, that you have to go to them?
To their house?
Yes. All right, so Business travel, 800, let's keep it there. Education, so you said this month you probably go over a little bit because you're gonna have 3.
This year, yeah. They bumped it from, it's usually in December, they moved it to August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd,
Okay.
which falls off this year.
So if next year you're gonna have 1 meeting, is that gonna cost about $900?
Until, you know, that, we also raised the bill. I don't know how long we go for.
Or you just leave it knowing he's gonna be under budget? Leave it, okay? And then 50, 100, leave it?
What about on his office furniture, because he's gonna be.
Well, but that's in the budget. They're lumping some money in there for that, so at this point, I think you almost have to say, let's wait and see. And we've got a little bit of ARPA money for cleaning up the mess people are leaving behind here, and then,
One of the things I was telling him about, we're afraid of kids, and we may go over there over in Austin. You going to Austin too?
yeah.
We may run over there over in Austin, where they have the resale of the desk and everything that the state uses. There is a massive amount of
Trailers, roll, the stuff we can get.
Yes, that we probably pick up a little bit of nothing.
Yeah.
And it's good stuff, it ain't
Yeah.
that cheap stuff.
Mahogany.
So that's something we might take some time to go over there.
Yeah, cool.
Check it out.
But there's still going to be some stuff, once we get in that office next year, that he needs, and $100 probably ain't gonna cover it.
But it's still gonna be within the 75,000 we've got budgeted.
Okay.
Putting that in that.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah. I think we can trim a lot on what he's got in that budget that he just gives us. It's just gonna take some.
Yeah.
Like that copy, we can do that ourselves, that's not.
You're really gonna have to be, because Teresa told me something about they need to look at that. And when that ink stuff falls, you cannot get it off the system. It's awful, she said.
We're gonna put it,
She said,
turn
is
on
it
one
every
end
one
of
of
it, air in the other end of it.
You're on the end that's coming out.
Yeah, you're gonna be on that end.
Adam, you got anything else?
I do not, except for to thank you guys and shake your hands. Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. Adam, appreciate you. You're doing a great job. All right, next I'd like to invite Mr. Barron up. County Attorney.
475.
Thank you. I was trying to figure out.
I knew you knew it, but I just, sorry,
was.
just happened.
Morning, Commissioners. County Court, how are y'all today?
Wonderful.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate you allowing me to come and speak this morning. What I want to do before I get down to the nuts and bolts of what we're asking for the changes out of my office, which really isn't very much, just kind of want to give you an update as to where my office is standing at this point in time on things. Very proud to say that we have already met our 90% requirement for county, for my office, on the bowling requirement, so that the state will allow us to receive our supplement from the state. Working with Ann's office, we've been able to make sure that we have that number. We now also receive an email from Austin on a bi-weekly basis that allows us to keep track of that number, so we've worked very hard to reach that. So here we are, well before the end of the year, we've already reached that 90% for last rolling average. Right now, or actually as of the beginning of July, my office had 214 open cases, which is about average for this time of year. We've had a low of 125 before. We've had a high when I came into office of right about 500 cases. So we're about 214. Again, that's about average for this time of year. During the early spring and summer period of time, we have an increase in the number of cases. I don't know if it's just the heat drives people crazy or what, but we do tend to have a raise in numbers around this point in time. And we'll go down later on, but to say, just very quickly, thank you to the court, to Ms. Timmy, for helping us get these cases in here and on the docket. And I really want to say thank you to my staff. They're the ones that make this possible for us to move, because we're doing approximately 50 cases per week right now through the court. So if you do the math, we're rolling through all of our cases on almost a monthly basis, keeping those cases moving, getting those pleas in, and making sure that we are able to not have people just sit there on the docket forever waiting for their turn. So it takes everybody working together to do that, and we have that work. Again, I want to thank you for that. There's really only about 3 or 4 things that I would ask the Commissioners Court to look at for the budget. The first item I'd ask you to look at would be line item for law office, books, and supplements. If you look at that line item, you'll notice that there's, in 2020, there's about half of it used, 2021 a little more, 2022 half. This year being 2023, we're going to use the entire budget again. That's because we purchased more books after we had the legislative session, because all of the laws have been updated, and we have to have more books at that point in time. So just pointing that out, because last year that was a question that the Commissioners Court had. $1,000, which is currently what is budgeted, should be sufficient for that. We might go over by another 100 or so, but I'm sure we can find that elsewhere in the budget. But just kind of preemptively answering that question, that I know that's going to come from the Commissioners Court on that.
Hey, Chris, are any of these things that you can put in before the end of our budget year? Can you place that order, or they will not be available?
They're just not available until
Okay.
probably October or November is when they'll be available. So we have to kind of buy them as we can. On the membership dues line item, you'll notice it's this year that the actual membership has gone up. That's going to be bar dues. The bar has just raised its dues. So this year it's $420. I think they're going to do another small increase next year as well. So what I'm asking for membership dues would be probably about $450 or $500 for that line item, to go up approximately $100 to make sure that we have that covered in the line item. Again, that's nothing that's increased on my side of things. That's what the bar has decided to charge, and so we would ask that to be covered as well. Previously this year, the Commissioners Court was kind enough to extend the cell phone allowance to my 2 full-time secretaries, Ms. Jimenez and Ms. Gollier. And so the current budget item of $720 only covers mine, and that should be $2,160 if it's continued for them. And I would ask that to continue for them, because they receive calls.
What about line item 421, cell phone? Where we pay $480. What's the difference between that cell phone and cell phone allowance?
Did you get separate and put that down there where you're going to take
Yeah, I
it
don't know,
away?
she's pulling out that line, really.
I'm not sure why that is. I don't have anything in that line.
So cell phone allowance would be 60 times, how many people? 3?
6 times 3
Times 3 times 12? So you're asking for 2,160, did I do that math right?
That's correct.
Can we put all that in the 475,226 line?
I don't know why not.
Yeah, I don't know.
It almost looks like it's just being misapplied down in
Yes,
421.
it is.
Right,
Didn't
again,
we pull that out of money that they collected last year when we approved that? Because I thought we agreed that they had money that they collected that we could pay those through.
I have to go back and look for sure. I just don't recall for that. I just know that that it had been granted to them. And I believe that it's appropriate, since they do receive calls from the sheriff's office and from regular community, as well as the DA's office, that be extended to them. So, other than that, I believe everything else is in line as to what we need at this point in time. Education, as you'll notice, we would like to add that number every year. And I believe it will be there this year as well.
Have one coming in, don't you, Chris?
Yes, ma'am. I have one in August, and then we're going to have another in September. And then those are the two that I'll have for the year. We'll end up splitting those. So as for salaries for my secretaries and myself, what I would ask is either that the commissioners look at paying the raises to the current cost of living increases due to inflation plus 2%, which estimated for 2024, I want to say the estimated cost of living is going to be 4% plus an additional 2% on top of that for 6%. I believe that the commissioners are currently, and this council is currently looking at a 5% raise. But just looking at what the estimated cost of living would be for 2004, I think that would.
Will you be able to, and I know you don't know 100%, but with the prosecutors, SB 22, the prosecutor grant, you would be able to use that money for staff, correct? So you might be able to use some of that money to adjust your staff outside of Commissioner's Court.
Is that just the DA's office?
No, it's prosecutors, so it lumps the county attorney and the district attorney into their, so, into that, so.
Is that 75,000?
Oh, gosh, no, it's like 200,000. It's
That includes your investigator and everything?
and it can be used, I mean, the way I read it, it can be used for everybody except for the county attorney and the district attorney. Like
That's my understanding as well.
Because they get taxed up on it. I think that's what.
I believe that's correct.
Yes.
But I know that the only issue with that, of course, is that that's a grant and it's not an ongoing.
Yeah.
That's not sure. What he understands is it's going to be put in place even after 2 years.
Well,
Possibly.
that was, the qualification on that was the law enforcement portion of it, that they thought they were setting that up as kind of a safer thing. Now, I think you can make an argument that the prosecutor part is part of the, yeah, but,
But it's supposed to.
The legislature changes on a regular basis, so what we might think is safe now may not be safe for the future.
That's exactly right.
They
But
can't find future.
I don't know the stipulations of what theirs is, but ours is still different.
So, but again, looking at the numbers that we have, we're pretty much on track for exactly what we're spending and what we are, what we're allotted here. I'm not seeing any particular needs. If we're going to be changing office space, there might be a need for a little bit more on office equipment, fixtures and furniture once that transition is made next year. But I would kind of like to play that by ear and see what we're going to be able to need. I heard talking a little earlier about the possibility of maybe getting some used supplies from the state.
Yes.
Or I know there's some used equipment auctions and things like that happen, that we can certainly get it at much better rates than
Yes.
buying it full freight. So
Yes, sir.
You bought some stuff.
I have all of our filing cabinets and things came that way. We got them probably about 30 cents a dollar.
A lot better.
Yeah. So, but that's the request I have at this time, and I would ask Commissioner's Court if there's any questions.
Part-time, still part-time.
Yes, I do have a part-time individual, and one of the things I'm thinking of is if this grant does come through, is possibly trying to see about moving her to a full-time position in my office, but we have to see what we're able to get from this grant, and then speak to the attorney's office about the. So, again, you talk about that associated cost, but I think that the county would be well served if the woman that's currently there would be able to come full-time. good
You
hand.
have her now, what, 3 days?
3 days.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday?
Yes, sir.
This is the lady up front at your section.
Yes, sir.
Lori. Yeah?
She's really good for multi-use too, ain't she?
Oh, she's excellent.
Yeah.
So, commissioners have any questions regarding anything?
Thank you so much.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, ladies, have a good day.
All right. Okay, so we're just going through the salaries. I'm just gonna pencil in 5% on that right now. It's a working number. Hey, you don't blame, I don't blame anyone for asking. Cell phone allowance, I bumped up to 2160.
And I put 3 out beside there.
Yeah, oh, that's a good idea.
But I thought when we did that, he had the money in his budget for money collected.
So let's look back. I know I haven't made any adjustments in there.
Well, but that's gonna be on the revenue side, you know,
Yeah.
it's, which goes into the general fund, doesn't it? So, it's
We're
kind
gonna have to figure that grant on the revenue side, so.
Yes, we've talked about that.
But the interesting thing about it, the way it was explained to me this weekend, I had a long phone conversation with Alan Bristol, our tax representative. He said the prosecutor portion of that won't even come to Commissioner's Court. We won't apply for it. It may not.
But if it does, we don't have to put it in place so we can come out.
Well, I mean, how does something
Well, the
that
money
doesn't
would
go
have
through,
to.
how does something coming through Commissioner's Court, it would have to flow through our budget,
The
right?
money
We have
has
to
to
go
come.
through the budget. It may not come through our court, but it's gonna go through the budget.
So the
Yeah.
proposed, for the county judge's proposed budget, we were gonna build that in as a Senate Bill 22 revenue item, and then put a Senate Bill 22 expense item, just make it a 1-for-1, just a washout.
I don't know how much to put in there.
I can give you the number. I'll give you.
Well, you gave me one, but like if they split it with the DA,
Yeah.
how much is the other? Is that up to them?
I think right now you just split it 50-50 and then we can adjust it later. You know, just, my guess is more of it's gonna go to the DA, they have more people. And, okay, so, office supplies, keep it at 3,000.
Yes.
Telephone, that's a plug number that we'll calculate. Cell phone, keep it at 0, that looks like that was a mistake. Business travel expense, that's just a hold in there in case something happens. It's never actually hit, but $100, keep that open. You said 7,000 was a good number. Computer and copiers, those are plug numbers that we'll put in there when we calculate what the new contract is. Looks like the bond number is probably a good number at $350. Membership dues, I bumped it up to $500 to take into account his bar increase. Is $82 of miscellaneous? Wonder what that was.
I don't know, something that wouldn't come out of somewhere else.
I'm gonna put miscellaneous at 0. I'm gonna leave it 750. We are gonna have some office equipment, furniture costs with the move, but, I'm gonna leave it there. And law books and supplement, I bumped them up to 1,000. Is everyone comfortable with that?
Good.
Okay. Well, if it's okay with you guys, can we move to Fort Belknap?
They've been sitting
Yeah, thank
patiently
you.
waiting.
What number is Fort Belknap?
667. And don't blame Amber for her copies like they are, because she tried to use our new copier, which I can't use either, and I know.
I had it.
You did. Is there a copy one in here?
It should be in there. I know I put it in there. Is it the back?
The very back?
Well, the back is the
How about the middle? How about the middle?
there it is. Kind of, yeah,
There it
kind of
is.
about 3/4 of the way.
Yay!
All right, the floor is y'all's.
Thank y'all for having us, thank y'all for hearing us out. We've only got a few things that we're really asking for, but, kind of some big ones. One thing we would like to do is to move Amber from part-time, or from full-time to part-time. That way she can work her other job, just so we can have better income.
How would you envision that split? Because right now supervisor and assistant, y'all are split 50-50. How would you envision
So,
that to be changed?
like, take half of what, or I would say 51, whatever it is, how do you get off part-time, 19 hours? Just to get off insurance?
Less than 30.
Okay,
They
so
work 30 hours.
20 hours, just split the,
So whatever, like, put me at part-time and then give him, because the way it's set up is it's a full-time salary split into two so that I can have insurance. I would ask that you drop my insurance, all of that, and then move the remaining of my income to that to where he's actually, because right now he's at a part-time salary. The amount is $27,000. So, I mean, whatever 20 hours for me would be, and then.
You think it'd be 20?
I think that would be,
Like 15,600 for 20 hours a week, 2 weeks.
and then just move that remainder of that to him.
So it would make him 38,854 before we started talking about raises.
Because I don't need insurance, my other job has insurance, I'll be covered on that, and, I mean, I'm there, I do all the phone calls, and I help with mowing and stuff like that, and.
she's
doing
multi-used
bids.
to Commissioner Rowley.
I'm like a secretary, you know, like, I do all of that, he does the history, he runs that board, and he does all of that, and he deserves that pay. Cause what I do, I can do anytime, at any point of the day, and
We still want to leave a couple thousand part-time.
yes, so like when we're on vacation or something like that, or.
So, and what I've been doing for part-time is my dad has been coming in. Of course, he's also master electrician, so it's a lot easier to hire him part-time than it is to hire an electrician. But he loves doing that, he loves coming out and doing that, so made that temporary or part-time or whatever.
Yeah, so, for one person for insurance now, because it did go up, is 10,740. So for him, it would be 10,740. That'd be no dental or anything.
That's
No
fine.
dental, no life. 10,740 on
I don't need dental either.
Yes.
We have a pair of pliers, we'll take care of you.
That's some change of time.
Yes, it will change all that. But I didn't know if on that, if you wanna just put her 15,600 in that assistance line, keep paying her out of that line, but I could put part-time. And then also leave it 2,000 in there for when your dad works, and then we pay him out that line. Does that work for y'all?
I think 1760.
Well, I was gonna put, like I said, I was gonna put her in the 103, the 15,600.
Okay.
And that would get her 20 hours a week, or 52 weeks. And then on him, on the second line part-time, put 2,000, and that's where Mr. Hammond will be paid out of. And then on Jim's, the 38,554.
doing this, we're gonna have to rewrite
Yeah.
the rules and stuff.
I've never seen this.
Will that change the holiday pay as well? You should cut it now.
Yeah, because she won't be getting holidays, she won't.
I'd
be
say
getting-
$1,000 probably close to.
So why do you say we have to change the rules? What-
Because the way
Yeah,
the
with the
job
rules.
description is designed says that you cannot have a part-time job.
But it says too that about being,
As an assistant, you can't have a part-time job?
As an employee.
As an employee?
but it had them as full, like, kind of like a full-time, I mean, with benefits, but
If there's everything in the range, that would be something rare to see. So that's what we
Do
have.
you have those rules that you would share with me?
I've seen them. I don't have them either.
I've never seen them. so-
I've heard it.
I've seen them, but
I've
never.
also been told that.
Timmy,
That maximizes $15 an hour on.
do you have the Fort
Yes.
Belknap rules?
Yes,
like
that's what
the employee-
I figured the 20
Yeah.
hours
What I
and
figured
15.
that could.
I probably got it somewhere.
Timmy said she.
They're in there. Yeah. We've gone over it because that was one of the things that we give you, whenever we hired you, was the personnel policy. I think both of you probably got it. Yeah.
I would,
You
yeah.
still gonna be.
Yeah, because I do most,
Money.
yeah, I deal with all that part of it.
So what does Jim do?
He does all the hard stuff. He does all the. Sorry. He does a lot. He does a whole lot.
I don't think he had his feet propped up with a cigar.
No.
Okay, so one thing that looked like, utilities, gas, water, electric, doesn't look like we've got enough money in that budget.
With our insurance dropping, that could help out with that.
I've got a question.
It
On our
looks like that should be
part-time,
11,000.
On our part-time, we raised it to 15, but if we do a across-the-board raise, 5% to 15, would we do that too, or just leave it where
That
it's
we
at?
don't ever do like that, we don't
No,
ever
we
do a
don't.
raise, but I mean, that's up to y'all, if you do, just raise the rate, and it's up to,
Okay.
You raise the rate, you should do less hours.
Yeah.
Is that utility, that's, see, electric is on our.
I'm proposing 11,000 on that. Just looking at
so
how
water
much.
and everything has been on that. Somebody's crazy.
Hogging up the printer?
Not your, I didn't even think we could
You say 11,000?
print off of that one, maybe.
Oh, I can print it, I just can't do anything else.
I'm sorry.
11,000 pages.
The trash hauling went down a little bit, did it? But then their prices have gone up again.
Well, they're not consistent at all.
Are they not?
Well, they're having troubles with the trucks, it seems like.
I mean, it's fine.
I know, I will say this though, like, when we use them for crawfish and cans, I mean, they were Johnny and Spud. We didn't have all those sitting out there for a week.
Yeah, that
They
was.
were good with that.
The, probably knock that down a little bit, I mean, like I said, the prices have gone up a little bit, but probably knock that to 2,000 on the trash hauling.
Okay.
So, I don't know what to pay the internet out of, we do pay for lots of, maybe we do it out of utilities, and we don't use that. No, we didn't have anything in here, so, oh, there it is, telephone internet.
Well, that was something I was thinking about, like, since we've got the Wi-Fi in the museum, should we not do telephone and internet out of hot tax?
Hey,
A little bit out of.
Timmy, this is what I wanted. I'm looking for the Fort Belknap employee rules.
Because it's not just the
It's
rules,
in the
it's all
handbook.
for.
Yeah.
It's,
I guess.
maybe like the job description.
Reviews that hot page for it, it's here's the head. Mostly. Especially when they go sideways. Sideways drive.
We would visit and chuckle at you in jail though. We would visit.
You would. You'd visit. Give me an extra blanket when I'm freezing.
Yeah, just laugh at me.
Laughing. You're mean. So you think everything else is?
Ground maintenance.
Looks like fuel and oil.
Well, that's what we were, me and him were talking about, like, a lot of that is, just because that truck is older, it can't pull the Canon. We use our personal vehicle, it has,
Where do you move just moving the cannon around the fort?
Well, not that, but like going to events. We start the big Hotter Than Hell race and,
Wow, yeah. Yes, this is what I wanted. Thanks.
but, yeah, when we take it to events, when we do the parades here and stuff, it doesn't have the electrical plug, it doesn't have any of that, and so. No, and so we end up we've used our personal vehicle, we've used other county vehicles. So that's been lower this year, just out of fear of really using it.
No, man, it sucks. The gas now.
Oh, yeah, it's terrible.
You see anything on building repair and maintenance that needs to be done?
There's lots of things we need to do.
one of the things that, we've got swamp coolers in Barracks B. I would love to do that split, air system, to get air conditioner in that building.
It would help us with rentals too.
Very much so.
During
That's
the
the-
summer, we would probably get more rentals if it was cool.
That would be something that we want to do, that, we need to do that this year.
Well, I would love to get on, I would love to get on that right now
How much
because
do you think that?
Split units, how big will it
Probably
be?
$25.
They're above 35.
Now, that's heating and cooling.
Yeah, that's a 20 unit or heat pump. The only problem you have with them is below 20 degrees.
I've heard it too, but
I know, but I've just
this
replaced mine.
looks to be the policy.
So what does it,
I would say for Barracks B, we would need 2 units in there.
here's my concern, it's electrical, being able to handle that kind of stuff.
Well, that was one of the things that was gonna need to be done in those buildings, that was part of it.
Now, we could use the hot tax for that.
Yes.
So that hot tax we were needing new with that was new electrical, and the restrooms were supposed to be upgraded. And that's what we were waiting on, but we've also been waiting on that.
Then we need
Survey.
the architect for the cannon cover at the shop. That's,
But I think I
Did
could
we
get a bid.
use the same firm as the Komatsu on this? And we're not getting much response out of them.
I've called his office about a week ago to try to see where he was on some of this stuff, and nobody would call me back. I got a voicemail, and nobody.
my
called me
last
back.
conversation with him was, June 20th. And he said, I'll get my architect on it. And so, I mean.
But that's been the ongoing thing.
We're small potatoes.
Well, and I've got, there's plenty of people who would love to come in, and we don't, because we are county, we don't have to go through those hoops. I know we're not building on anything historical where we're gonna build at, but I wanna get the ball rolling.
And it's gonna be,
Does the house repairs not go along with the board repairs as well? I think is there another line item on that?
If it's it doesn't, the hot tax, not at all, like, whatever, and I don't know, is that capital improvement, is that what
Yes,
that
it
is?
is.
So we can't touch that.
But y'all had to work on the air conditioning at the house, it's not showing up on here?
No, because we just paid it. And I-
Okay, this is not showing up on here,
Yeah.
this number is not correct. Can you get Jackie to come look at that building and see what it would take to get air
He's
conditioning?
the one actually,
And see what the electricity is, can you get him to get a bid on that?
Absolutely. And that's one of the things about that building is we don't have to keep it at 72 degrees all the time. It's just for whenever it's rented out on the weekend.
So you can, like, say we know we have an event coming to the day before, whatever, kick it on, cool it off in
paying on this 5,000 for the building repair and maintenance, so that's the whole facility, or is it separate from the house and the?
That would come like when I need to buy like plumbing supplies, to fix, or paint, just the paint. That's what I've been using that for mainly plumbing
Yeah.
supplies.
You can use that 40,000 in capital improvements.
Yes.
Okay.
With the electrical, the air conditioners.
Well, I can get bids for that.
Yeah. But my point is, if we're gonna do it, we need to do it on this year's budget.
Well, and I'm sure it would just pay that electrical bill.
Air Somewhere around there.
It's not showing on here, but see, that came out of,
Was it 8,000?
no, it was 4,000.
Without, just without stipend?
Yeah, because we did the inside unit not too long ago.
So that line is
But
probably
we're-
a little negative right now if I were to pull a statement.
So while we're on that, I will say, he replaced that, and the same issue we were having was still happening. We had to come right back, and it's clicking and surging. And so I'm worried about the electrical in our home, because it does the same thing. Brand new unit, did the same thing. He came and sat out there for over an hour trying
What
to figure it
size?
out.
3 ton, 4 ton, 5 ton?
I can go get.
I don't
I think it's a
know.
3 ton.
Okay, did he put a meter on there?
Oh, yeah, I mean,
He's
he
checked everything. He
checked
can't
it,
figure out.
replaced, and he kept doing it, and I mean, we sat there and watched him, there was something, it was almost like it was shorting its contact. Just keeps going,
Was
keeps
it not
going.
holding the voltage?
Yes.
But during that same week that we were having that issue, Fort Belknap was having some electrical surges up and down 61, and so,
But that's been like every year, that kind of same issue. We've changed the capacitor. I mean, and that's electrical, like there's not enough power. It's, yeah.
You need to have electrician go out there and inspect them.
And it's gonna be,
Check the, everything on top of that pole.
Sometimes that same issue has to do with ground. The ground, if you don't have a good ground, that'll cause the same issue, that chatter.
right. But that's what he was saying, but he couldn't figure out why, because he was sitting there watching it, he'd take the door off.
I'm gonna tell you, another thing it could be is, in your house, is the lights dim every once in a while, go back. You've got something, it may be in your breaker box, or it may be in the main meter loop, where your meter is. You got something loose in there.
Yeah.
It's heating up.
it scares me.
Yeah, it makes us nervous. There was one day we were smelling burning, and
You
it
saw
was,
the burning rubber, I was in
You
there.
need to
Scary.
have it checked out.
so we have, I mean, the house, I mean, we've got some
And
things.
then, you went on that break.
Star Electric.
We'll get started and look into that again.
That's what I call it.
But they need to start, and they need to start from the beginning and work their way through everything. There's a wire there that's loose. Somewhere, with a meter box there.
Okay.
There's a wire, and it could be a ground, even up on top of the meter loop up there, or it could be up there on the pole. So there's ground that's bad, there's a wire that's loose.
Well, they've had, in that pole has one of our security lights on it. And the security light, we've had so many problems with that security.
It's gonna be, it'll be there on the transformer itself. But
It's been an ongoing.
Every time we call that Fort Belknap Electric, they fix it.
We'll fix it, check out.
We're about to stay, why don't you stay? We're gonna adjust, we'll adjust the lunch to fit right.
You might her come back in 30 minutes.
Christie, we're not gonna get you before lunch.
There we go.
We'll get you after lunch, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
You're
Sorry about that.
No, that is fine.
We can, if it works for you, we can do you first after lunch. I'll come get you when we're ready for you.
Okay, thank you, that'll work, thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, ready to go through the numbers? Okay. Or do you have something else? Oh.
So we have, in the house, in the budget for next year, I guess this is where, if we need to do some repairs, we've had from the air conditioning we got bids for the flooring with them doing labor costs and everything, but with winter coming, things kind of slow down for us out the board, so we can do a lot of this ourselves, like
What line
installing.
item is home repair again?
Well, it'd be the
That's what I was
350.
asking.
350 building repair maintenance?
660, 350,
Okay.
It's only $5,000.
I know.
So we have a flooring, not everybody got back to me, so, and my printing is not great, so. I have one,
So don't judge her.
yeah, my Brent Williams, I had him come out, and for demolition, was 2,800, that was haul off everything. And then installation of new floors, the materials, all that was 12,800, total cost was 15,600.
15,600 for new floors?
Yes.
What kind of floors are you putting?
Well, I just sold them, like vinyl, like the.
Do you know how many square feet the home is?
Well, I had that before you asked.
I know, that's what I was, and so I also had, I asked everybody to give us a bid for that. This is what, this is the pricing of the floor. He did not give me a bid for labor or anything, but I can get it cheap. So like if I wanted to give y'all this is what they're telling me, but I can go to those surplus stores and do like I did the bathroom. Here's what it would cost if somebody else did it, but y'all can approve a certain amount. I can go to surplus stores and buy it, what they have there.
The biggest cost, and I just did all this to my daughter's house, they're getting about $6 a square foot out of the land. So an 1,800 foot house, you're looking at about 10 grand in labor.
Yeah, because we can do that. I mean,
That's a great wintertime project.
yeah,
That's more dirty, much as concrete.
I know.
it's ridiculous.
Tell me about
And
it.
so, and then these were like $3 and $4, like pretty close to $4 a square foot, if that's what it.
Yeah, that's a reasonable amount for
So,
materials, since your labor's gonna kill you.
yeah, the labor's gonna kill us, and that's why I wanted to give y'all what they would charge, but we can do it in our spare time. Like, that can be we can do a room at a time and work through, because where the air conditioner sits, it's at the end of the hallway, and it's the hallway and those bedrooms right there. And so it's bubbled up the floor. In the kitchen, we kind of have some of the same issues. So what we would like to do is just do the same flooring throughout.
House slab appeared to
See, you
be, they can do some other structure.
There may be some, and I may need help.
Now, I need to pull a current one because I think I took that air conditioning unit out of that, so it's probably over 5,000. Sorry. I know, it was a good idea.
Well, we hadn't even got to the cabinets yet.
Yeah, the cabinets. So the cabinets are in here. The cabinets themselves, the only part we have, they need to be refaced. The doors are falling off, they need new hinges. We have like several different bids through, we have one from Dalton Construction, and then I got one from Bobby Wolf, and he gave us like 4 different options, which I thought was really neat what he did, because there's only a section of it that really needs to be replaced. The rest of it can be refaced, and the countertops is what the big deal is. Like the sink portion is what like actually needs to be replaced. And so he gave us bids on that as well, and kind of laid it out. I'm sorry, this printing is terrible. But, so the top ones to Matt, like, he gave us also a bid just to reface the top ones so they would match the bottom ones. That was, for the uppers, just to reface the uppers were $843. So option one, he said new base cabinets to extend to the end, to the right, so we need a little extra space, like 6 inches, we needed it just to be scooted over a little bit for the dishwasher.
that comes out, and we added a dishwasher in there, but you can't
have enough room, you can't have handles on those drawers right there, because you wouldn't be able to open the dishwasher.
So we can move it
Maybe 6
6
inches.
inches. It's perfect. So he's got that one.
The new Peninsula is 2681. New uppers 843. Majority doors on existing base cabinets is 2400.
Which the difference is only a couple hundred, I don't know. That's more. And then he quoted for granite and not asked for granite. Yeah, he quoted for granite. I was like, oh, that's nice, but I didn't ask for that. We want something that's durable and is not gonna tear up, like, what we have is peeling up. I mean, I don't know how old it is, but it's just,
It's a laminate on the countertop, so around the sink.
yes, and it's just,
I have just done this exact same layout in my daughter's house. It's been $1,700 for granite Lowe's.
see, that's what I mean. Like, I can go and get things.
We did this
now.
cabinets too, and I was in them at about 4,500, and that's all brand new. And my brother-in-law installs them, and he's a cabinet builder. He said these cabinets were better than the cabinets that he would build. They're real wood. They're
Well,
not-
and see, that's the thing, like, our cabinets are real wood. That's why we
Yes.
don't want to replace them. It's just a big
Like,
finish.
they're sturdy. I don't think what they're putting in nowadays is very sturdy. So, I mean, if you got it at Lowe's, so I am perfectly fine with all that, but I know we have to get bids, and that's what,
That's the problem. I don't know.
Now, kind of like what we did with the bathroom, I got bids for that, but we can do the work ourselves.
No, you don't have to do it.
Oh, you don't, okay. So, I mean, I am okay with whatever, but we really, with the floors there need to be.
Tell you what, let's do with this, why don't you get with Lowe's, get with Scott, 'cause he's already done the headlight work on it. See what you can come up with him, and get some figures together, and then bring it back
Okay,
later,
I can do that.
and we can figure it out from there.
I can take you to my daughter's house and show you what we've done over there. If you want to look and see, and share some numbers.
Whatever's easiest is best for me. I don't need anything fancy. I mean, it's just falling
You just
apart.
not trip on the floor.
Yes, and I don't want to trip on the floor, and every time my kids walk past the counter, their shirt hits and it like pops it out, and I'm like, put it back together.
You want to start
All that rest of the
island?
I split the salary out as they were talking about. We knocked insurance down to 10,740.
Holiday pay, so probably about $1,000. FICA would change,
FICA, we just got to calculate that.
retirement would change also.
And
You think it'd be half of that, less than that?
Cause we'll still do retirement on there, on that other salary, yeah.
Well, his increase in salary is gonna keep that.
Well, his salary just absorbs kind of what,
You still gotta take out your FICA for it.
yeah, I'll figure all that.
Almost 9 years, I think.
See, so they'll, or he will qualify for longevity.
January's not used.
you will qualify.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Okay, so office supplies, just leave it at 200.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because we're not able to rent anymore.
Should we lower fuel and oil?
That's a scary one.
I would leave it to some. It look like fuel, look like everybody's going to go up.
Custodial expenses seem pretty high.
Yeah, we've got stockpile, but we can,
Yeah, I do kind of big orders, and that's something that, like, I try and
knock that down 300.
Was that, I mean, I guess so, like, toilet paper and everything else. I don't know.
Think we ought to leave it?
I'd be afraid to.
Okay, we'll leave it, leave it, leave it.
Rather have money in there.
And we haven't got to our real busy part of the year yet.
Try to find some place to rate that. Ground maintenance. That's hit or miss as far as price on that.
Probably just leave it, that's. Yeah, because anything, lawn power or anything else comes out of that.
Okay.
We didn't have a terrible year.
Alright, so we're gonna leave building repair and maintenance as a question mark and come back and revisit once we give it a little better number. Okay, other equipment, $500, seems to be about the right number, doesn't it? Auto repair,
We raised that up because of the tires that way.
Yeah.
And we didn't bring it back down, did we? Remember we got.
Did y'all get tires?
did y'all buy tires?
Yeah, we got brand new tires.
Show them.
Are all four?
Maybe it's supposed to.
Did y'all do that back in 2020?
Think so. Don't show it.
Well, it does if you look at, I mean, it's,
2020 was $842.
Yeah, that would have been the tires.
So then we never took it back down. 500, we got it.
For the 500? Okay.
well, that truck's getting old with it.
Oh, yeah, that's got it.
Frank Scott.
Yeah, maybe.
That's a good way to have that truck retired.
Yeah,
He got a mechanic.
that internet is what it is.
Yeah, that is what it is. No business travel. I put 11,000 for utilities. Looks like we're a little light on that right now. Trash hauling, we knocked it down to 2,000.
Bonds.
Bond, that's gonna stay the same.
Property line, or property I'll be, for me, people I'll be moving into
Yeah, we're gonna move that into another category. Vehicle insurance, that looks like 300
the,
probably.
well, I'm gonna move that into.
New category?
Yes, sir.
Miscellaneous, 400. Which is, got a 300-400. And then capital improvements, are we gonna be able to spend some of that $40,000 this year?
Oh, you bet.
What do you think we'll have spent?
Well, I mean, that's where I'm gonna get prices for the air conditioners in the barracks. I'm gonna get Jackie over
Okay.
there.
See, we just run a hot tax money, that's what we use hot tax.
Man, and then we're in your house too.
Usually when we put
So-
hot tax, we put in there, did we go up on our hot tax?
So if you can spend that 40,000 this year, what's your capital improvements gonna look like for next year then?
I was in the can shed, the shop, all that stuff. I've got plans. I mean, we've got RV hookups that need to be redone, maybe moved. We've got all the electrical and on the south side, or on the north side of the fort, from all that electrical has been redone. We
We're
got
out
new
in the
water
women's
line.
building, they do that.
We gotta rewire the inside of the women's building, put new lighting in there. So I've got things to spend.
You got,
Why don't we leave that at 40,000 for
maybe
next
just
year?
40, but if you could do something that area, two restrooms.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, those two restrooms.
You got a brand new septic system.
Yep.
Yes.
In there, that's what's figured in 2022.
Yeah, we need, new doors on the restrooms, that's really
The
good.
commode and the sinks in good shape.
No.
Well, the sinks, we need new sinks.
No, we need new sinks for sure. Some of the commodes are new, we replaced a couple last year. So we still have a couple of new to replace, but for the most part,
Why is promotions 10,000 flat for the year?
Isn't that what we
Pay the chamber, and they haven't billed us yet for this year.
Did we ever find out what the chamber gave back to us for the can towards Canton?
We were Jim and I have a meeting with them on Friday
Okay.
to discuss that very issue.
Even that,
Huh?
even that.
Yeah. Well, the problem is our deal was made with Krista, and
Chris is gone,
Yeah.
so, and nothing was ever put in writing.
That's what I was about to ask.
Nothing was in
We've
writing.
always, matter of fact, we did the ability to 10,000 promotions, and part, the biggest part of that was through the crawfish camp.
Well, but for crawfish and cannon, it's about how that money gets, that's what we're doing. Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to sit down and see what we can come up with Friday.
That's a, crawfish and cannons is.
It's really good for the sport, but we're not financially.
They're not compensating for all the work that you are putting in. It's, I love the amount of eyes that are on the board that day, and I love being able to use the floor, and draw people out there.
We also may
History, but.
lose income that was signed up for us for like the shop in there. You
Oh, yeah,
know,
yeah.
they said, well, we'll provide stuff and then y'all get a portion of it, because that was part of our income. We would put stuff in the shop, well, that's gone.
Talking about hats and t-shirts.
Now they do that and they get them, so,
The
So
top
we've
amount
also-
of their promote their
yeah.
Fort Belknap clothing line. That's what.
We're gonna talk about that Friday.
So we're gonna do that.
Jim's gonna bring his angry face.
I'll have it, so he's gonna bring his wife, and I'll be like.
Are you gonna come? Please come, yeah, come, let's talk about
Smarter to
it.
have-
The more people we have, yeah. You have anything else?
I think that's it. I mean, if y'all give us the go-ahead to get, I mean, I prefer that idea than to spend a lot of money on a
Scott Body doesn't make money up.
Yeah.
I can, you can get y'all my brother-in-law to
That'd be good.
hang the cabinets. I think we can get that way down.
That would be great.
It'll be nice.
Y'all wanna take a lunch break at 1:45?
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, see you guys on Friday.
No, let's come back and
Okay, Stacy said
No.
1:15.
Jimmy too, huh?
All right,
What time?
1:45. Jimmy, if you'll be back at 1:40 to open us up.
I like watching